Well, hello everyone. This is Josh the Funk Doc here, and I know it's been quite a long time since I last streamed or uploaded any videos on here. I've just been going through a lot over these past few years, obviously given COVID and everything, and also the fact that I just recently moved into an apartment of my own for the first time in my life, so been busy with a lot of the work involved in setting that up. Which is still not entirely done, but I'm a good chunk of the way there at least. So yeah, things have been looking up for me as of late, and so I decided to make a video that is very long overdue here. So to explain quickly the situation, there is a tournament in the UK called the Mind Sports Olympiad. And the MSO, it's basically like, for any of you fighting game people out there, it kind of tries to be like an Evo for board games, sort of. Because they include a lot of, European-style board games, the kind of stuff I'm into, but they also have some of the classics like Chess and Go in there. Just a wide range of stuff. So, in 2020 and 2021, they ran the tournament entirely online because of the pandemic. In 2021, I won the tournament there for Castles of Burgundy and finished second in Through the Ages. The Through the Ages tournament there, it's weird because they used Board Game Arena, which has the old, earlier version of the game, as opposed to the modern version in Through the Ages' own app, which is a great app, by the way. Highly recommended. I do like me some Through the Ages. But anyway, in 2021, I ended up getting second in Castles of Burgundy. And then Seven Wonders Duel was not in the 2020 tournament because it was not on Board Game Arena yet. And now, in 2021, it was added. So we have a free way to play it. So they add it into the MSO's lineup. And we're going to go over my run of the tournament here because they used, I want to say it was a Swiss-style format for this because I find that for these larger board game tournaments, Swiss tends to be the most commonly used format in general. So I believe this was Swiss. So anyway, I'm in a group, and I got to win a bunch of these games in my group to qualify. So the idea is you have all these groups, and then after the groups, you go into the top 8, which is a single elimination bracket. So we begin the group stage, and my first game here, I am up against a player named Scops. Scops is someone who's, good in a good variety of games. Also a pretty chill person. And we see right off the bat, there's a couple things going on here. So with Seven Wonders Duel, for those not familiar with the game, what you're seeing in the middle here are these 4 wonders to choose from. And the way it works is the first player gets to pick the first wonder, and then the second player will get to pick the second and third wonders. So it's meant to make the draft a bit fairer, right? And then there's a second round of wonder drafting after this, which reverses the order. So I'm going to go first in the second round of wonder drafting. So anyway, we have this first set of wonders. What did these do? So right off the bat, I will tell you that I could bet with 100% certainty that Scops is going to pick the Sphinx as that first wonder. And the reason why is because of this right here. So you see this these 2 arrows in a circle? What that means is when you build this wonder, you get to take another turn afterward. So also to clarify a little bit more, so the things you see on the left, these are the resources. So you have a bunch of different kinds of resources you can collect in this game from cards, and on the left it shows which resources it costs to build this particular wonder. So the Sphinx, you can see, for example, that it's 2 glass, then a clay, that's the red, and then a stone, that's the gray. So the Sphinx, just having that extra turn property makes it really, really strong. One of the best wonders just because of that. Getting to take an extra turn is tremendously powerful in this game, and especially in the base game, nothing else compares to it. Pretty much any wonder with the extra turn symbol on it is going to be better than any wonder that doesn't have it. At least in the base game, the expansions do change this. I'm a huge fan of the expansions, by the way. That's like the only way I want to play this game now, but this tournament was for the base game, so we gotta do what we gotta do. So anyway, I can tell you off the bat, Scops will pick the Sphinx. And that's exactly what they do. Because it's the only extra turn wonder on this board. Now, I get the second two. So we have Circus Maximus, the Great Library, and the Great Lighthouse. So, the Great Lighthouse is... Oh, I forgot to mention the victory points. When you look at the right side of the wonder card, you can see that below its other properties, it lists a number. That number is how many victory points you score when you build that wonder. So the Sphinx's whole thing is it gives you a bunch of points, in addition to the extra turn. Like, I think it's probably the weakest of all the extra turn wonders, because it only gives you points, and the others give you things that are more widely useful. But we'll get into that later. So Circus Maximus, what this does, this wonder, is you can see the 3 victory points. On the right side, this is the military track. So these shields, each shield is 1 point of damage on the military track. So it's kind of a tug-of-war dynamic where as you deal damage with military, you move up on the track. And then if they deal damage, they move you back down, right? And one of the ways you can win this game is so Seven Wonders Duel has 3 ways to win. There's victory points, which is just if you make it to the end of the game, then whoever has more points after everything wins. Obvious enough, right? The second way is military, which is if you get all the way up to this very top spot on the military track, you instantly win, no matter what point in the game it is. So you can kill your opponent on military. And the third way to win in the base game is science, which is kind of like, I guess to use the Yu-Gi-Oh analogy, it's like putting Exodia together. It's kind of what science is in this game. With science, there's like a bunch of different symbols, and you have to collect all the different kinds of symbols to win with science. So those are your 3 win conditions in this game. That's where this game really stands out from a lot of other Euros, is a lot of times in Euro games, they'll advertise, there's, multiple paths to victory. But really, in the end, they're all just different ways of scoring victory points. Seven Wonders Duel gives you 2 other routes that completely bypass points altogether, which is both fun and also what's frustrating about it at times. We'll get into that too. Anyway, to get back to this, Circus Maximus. So it deals one point of damage on the military track, and what this means is it destroys one of your opponent's gray resource cards. The gray resources are the glass and the papyrus. These 2 in the top of the library here. Those 2 are the gray resource types, so you can destroy one of those from your opponent with that. So that's a pretty decent benefit to it too. Circus Maximus is kind of like, maybe like lower mid, in my opinion, among the base game wonders. But I'm still likely going to take it here because, okay, I'll explain the others. Great Library. Great Library is one of the most complicated wonders. It scores 4 victory points. And also, you can see, so I never explained these symbols on the right yet. What these symbols are is progress tokens. And progress tokens come from investing in science. The way it works normally is when you're collecting these science cards, which are the green cards that you'll eventually see, if you get 2 science cards with the same symbol, if you match 2 of the same symbol, you get to take any one of these progress tokens from the right here. And I'll just say it right now, this is a really weak set of progress tokens on the right. And that's important because the Great Library's gimmick is, in addition to scoring 4 points, it gives you 3 randomly selected progress tokens that are not available here. So 3 of the progress tokens that are not in the common area, you can get from the Great Library. You get your choice of one of those 3 progress tokens. And that's important because there are 3 main tokens that are very overpowered in the base game. And you're actually guaranteed to get at least one of those because none of those 3 tokens are showing on here. So a Great Library, I think, is clearly the second best wonder of this set. And I think Circus Maximus is third best. Reason for this? The Great Lighthouse. So the Lighthouse also scores you 4 points. Its other benefit is it gives you a wild card resource. So it gives you like this, think of it as like 1 brown resource that can, like what I call the brown resource cards, which are clay, stone, and wood. It gives you an extra 1 resource that can count as any of these 3. Now that sounds really good to most new players. It gives you a ton of flexibility in being able to afford cards because you have, all these different resources available to you, right? The Lighthouse, I think, is the second worst wonder in the game. And that's because the greater resource production, it really only helps you win on victory points. It doesn't do much for you with the other 2 win conditions. And I'll get into that later as well. But I prefer to have more flexibility with my wonders. I want wonders that don't just score points for me. I want wonders that can do something for me in the science or the military game as well. And the Lighthouse just does barely anything for me on those. So I am going to take Library and Circus Maximus and leave the Lighthouse for Scops. Now I get my first pick of the wonders here. So you can see we now have 2 more wonders with an extra turn. They both score you 3 victory points. They give you the extra turn. The difference is the Hanging Gardens, this gives you 6 coins. You can see the number of coins here by the player name. And coins are really important because if you don't have enough resources to afford a certain card or a wonder, you have to pay coins to cover any missing resources. There's also some cards that just cost coins too. So money is really, really, really valuable. And I think the Hanging Gardens, I think it's the third best wonder overall. That's the one I'm going to take here. Because the benefit's similar. So Hanging Gardens gives you 6 coins. The Appian Way, or Appian Way, I guess, maybe. The Appian Way, what this does is it gives you 3 coins and takes 3 coins away from your opponent. Now, situationally, this can be really, really strong. But ultimately, I prefer the Gardens because it costs 1 less resource than the Appian Way for a fairly similar benefit overall. So I am going to take the Hanging Gardens. Yes, that's exactly what I do. And what wonders do I think Scops will take? So I think the Appian Way is an absolute no-brainer. It's the last wonder left that gives you an extra turn. And again, extra turn wonders are God. That's one of the things you got to understand about base game 7 Wonders Duel. What about the other 2? Colossus, this one I think is pretty simple to explain. It scores you 3 points, and it delivers 2 points of damage on the military track. I think this wonder, like a lot of people tend to think the Colossus sucks. I think it's a bit underrated. I would nearly always take the Colossus over the Lighthouse myself, when a lot of players, even some of the very best players out there, are the opposite. So there's Colossus, and then there's Statue of Zeus. Statue of Zeus is similar to Circus Maximus. 3 points, does 1 point of damage on the military track, and it destroys one of your opponent's brown resource cards. So if they have a brown card that gives them a clay or stone or wood, you can destroy that with this. So Statue of Zeus, I think, is better than the Circus Maximus, even though it costs 1 more resource, because destroying a brown can have a more disastrous effect on your opponent's game than destroying a gray resource. And I'll explain that as the game goes on, too, why that is. But basically, when you get down to it, I think Scops here is going to take Appian Way and Statue of Zeus. That's what I would do. And exactly right again, leaving me the Colossus, which I'm always fine to get left with Colossus as the last wonder. That's okay by me. But here's the thing. One of the reasons why I really do not like base game 7 Wonders Duel anymore is the first player advantage is the most broken I have ever seen in a critically acclaimed Euro game. put it that way. And there's some more complex reasons for that, but one of the big reasons first player is so good is you notice when you get to the game, you see that there's a pyramid of cards and they're laid out in this fashion, where the rows alternate between visible and invisible. And where this comes into play is the first player gets the vast majority of the new cards revealed. They get the first pick from the new cards flipped in these back rows. So that's really important. What card... So Scops has first player in this game. What is Scops going to do? What card should they take with the first card? So if I were them, I would definitely take the Papyrus, the press. The reason is that Papyrus is really, really valuable to Scops because they have both the Statue of Zeus and the Lighthouse. And both of those wonders cost 2 Papyrus. So I think they have an extra need for it. That's the card I would take in their spot. However, they surprise me a little bit and take the green card. The Bull symbol Science card. So the Science card, the deal with the Science cards is there are 4 Science cards that can potentially appear in Age 1, each having a different symbol. There are 6 total Science symbols in the game, and as I mentioned earlier, you can win the game if you collect all 6 of those different Science symbols. But the thing is, not all of those Science cards are equal in value. I would say the one with the bull is one of the best Science cards. The reason for this is, if you get this, it gives you something we call a free chain. Free chains are a major concept in both original Seven Wonders and Seven Wonders Duel. The idea is, like, if you buy a certain card, then it lets you buy a specific other card later in the game for free. So in this case, if you get the bull here, then if the Age 2 card with the bull symbol shows up, you get that for free. And that'll get you one of these symbols on the right here. So I can understand why Scots would take this. It's just, I think that the sign symbols here are a very weak set overall. So I personally still think the press would have been the better pick for them, the Papyrus. So now, since they didn't take Papyrus, I'm going to take it. Why do I take Papyrus? Because a couple of my wonders need it, but also... So another aspect of this game is, if an opponent doesn't have a resource and you do, it drives up their price for that resource. So when at the start of the game, all resources that you don't have, it costs you 2 coins to fill in that resource for building something or buying a card. However, if your opponent gets for each one of that resource your opponent has, the cost for you is driven up by 1. So because I took the Papyrus, it will now cost Scops 3 coins each time they want to buy something with Papyrus in it. And the Papyrus, it'll actually cost them 6 coins just for the Papyrus with the Lighthouse and the Statue. So that's why I took Papyrus here. Scops here, their next move down. So you may notice there's this card that gives you a stone and it's free. I think this is by far the best card left on the board at this point, and 100% Scops is going to take that. Which, yes, they do. Now this reveals the Feather. The Feather is the other Science card that functions like the Bull, in that it gives you a free chain to the Age 2 card with the Feather. This game has 3 ages, by the way, if you weren't aware. So we're in Age 1 now, and we're going to see Age 2 and 3. So what I'm saying is in Age 2, there's another set of all 4 of these Science cards. And again, so I'm going to take the Feather here. The Feather is, again, easily the best choice for me in this, because it doesn't reveal any new cards for my opponent, and it gives me a chance at one of those progress tokens for Age 2. So there, I think Scops discards the blue building. And I think that's reasonable. So in the base game of Seven Wonders Duel, the red cards especially are quite bad almost all the time. You don't want to buy red cards. The reason for this has to do with the game's rules for deciding who goes first in each age. See, if you are ahead of your opponent on the military track at the end of an age, they will get to choose who goes first at the beginning of the next age. And going first in Age 2 is normally a big, big advantage. So nobody ends up wanting to do anything with the military in Age 1. So red cards almost always just get discarded. And you may notice also discarding gives you money. So when Scops discarded that blue building, they gained 2 coins. 2 coins is your starting amount that you get for discarding. Now, they flipped a yellow card for me, and that's a great card for me because it buffs discards. So each yellow card that you get, now this is a free yellow card that gives me an extra 4 coins right off the bat. What it also does is each yellow card increases the amount you gain from discards by 1. So I am going to take this yellow card, and it will buff all my future discards to be worth 3 coins instead of 2. This does let my opponent take the glass, which is, the gray resource cards, I would say in general, like the science cards that give you a free chain, yellow cards, and the gray resource cards are the most valuable cards to get in Age 1. So we're both getting really strong cards here. I get the yellow, my opponent will get the glass. However, since I have Circus Maximus, I could potentially destroy that glass later in the game. So that's part of why I'm not as broken up about letting them have that. So now at this point, I pretty much have to just... My move, I think, is just discard something and flip new cards for Scops. This is where we start to get into the player 1 advantage for Scops here. Because these are crappy cards available for me. The blue cards I didn't explain. Like, the blue cards are kind of interesting. They give you free chains to other blue cards later in the game, and that can score you a bunch of points. The issue is, I find money is just so important in the early and mid game that I would usually rather discard the blue buildings, unless I'm already doing fantastic on money. But I'm not. I'm going to discard the red card. So why would I discard the red instead of the blue? Well, one concept that I didn't understand at first, and one of my board gaming buddies, one of my most influential players on me personally, the great Pistol Star, when he used to play this, he explained to me how it's better to flip 2 new cards at once instead of 1. Reason being, that way, if there's 2 good cards, you're going to get one of them. And that's what happens here. We got 2 good cards flipped here. There's the clay card. Now, this costs 1, so it's definitely not as good as the other clay card. This one that you can see, this clay card is free. This costs 1 coin, so obviously not as good, but still definitely a card worth taking. And then there's this yellow card. So these yellow cards with resources, what this means is, this yellow card right here, if you take this, it means that all stone, like anytime that you have to, anytime that you buy a card that requires stone and you don't have stone for the rest of the game, each stone will only cost you 1 coin, no matter how many stone your opponent has. However, my opponent opts to instead take the clay, so as to not let me get a new card. And I will gladly take the yellow card for stone in this case, since I have no stone yet, and each stone would cost me 3 right now. Now it's going to cost me 1 for the rest of the game, right? So Scops here has blue building and has the free wood. And as I mentioned, the brown cards that are free are also really good. So I'm fully expecting Scops to take the wood here. And that is what they do. Because it also it doesn't reveal any new cards for me to take. So I'm stuck again in the same crappy decision. I probably just discard a blue building, which I do. Now the reason I discard this one is, to be honest, I maybe should have discarded the blue building on the right because, again, it's usually better to flip 2 new cards instead of 1. This might have been a small mistake on my part, although the card I revealed, not so bad. I got lucky with this. Because this green card here, this does not give you a free chain, so it's not as good as the bowl and the feather ones. This one, what this thing does is, it just gives you a symbol and potential to match for a token in H2, right? It costs a papyrus, so this card's actually free for me, and it costs 3 for my opponent. Because, again, remember, because I took the papyrus, it now costs a little extra for them to use papyrus to buy stuff. But they do, in fact, buy it, which surprised me a little bit. I thought they might have discarded it. This lets me have, now the clay is available to me, the free clay card. And I, of course, I'm actually not going to take it. That surprises me. I think I maybe was sticking a little too closely to the flip 2 cards script. I think in retrospect, it would have been better for me to just take the clay, because it's something I badly need. Notice that I have the Colossus, and that thing costs 3 clay, right? So I think the free clay would have been a lot better for me. Now here, my opponent is likely going to take the science card because it's free for them, since this science card costs glass. And they have the glass and I don't, which of course they take it. So now my opponent's in an interesting spot because they have 3 of the 4 possible science symbols in age 1. And that's important because once you have 4 science symbols in the first 2 ages, that means you could potentially win the game on science in age 3. So I will have to be very mindful of the science threat going forward. Here in this case, I think now I have no choice but to... No, I still stick with discarding the red. I still think that, yeah, that was definitely a mistake. In retrospect, I should have taken the clay. That was a huge, huge mistake for me in this game, because now look at what happens. My opponent has 2 clay, and I have none, so each clay costs 4 for me. This would be a massive swing in economy if I had taken that clay card instead. So yeah, that's a big mistake on my part. Instead, I just discard the red card on the right because it doesn't reveal anything new for my opponent. And now, I'm going to explain the other part of why first player advantage in this game is so broken, at least in the base game. So in addition to getting new cards flipped for you, the other part of it is this. If we just go back and forth like this and nobody takes any extra turns in age 1, it will create a situation where my opponent can build a wonder with an extra turn and then get the last card. Why is this important? Because the other rule with this game, with deciding who starts the next age, is this. If both players are equal on the military track at the end of an age, which we are right now, then the player who took the last turn in age 1 will decide who gets to go first in age 2. So they're going to take an extra turn here. Oh, no, they actually don't. See, if their position, I would have made that play. I would have done the extra turn. I do think that's a mistake on their part, because they would have effectively gotten them 2 extra turns, because they would build the Sphinx, which they could have done. They could have afforded the Sphinx. They would build the Sphinx, discard this wood since they wouldn't be able to afford it, but then they get to go first in age 2. So they're effectively getting 2 extra turns in a row from building the Sphinx in this situation. They don't, and I, for one, am thankful because I get to take the wood now, which I desperately need wood. And also I get to decide who goes first. And this is really good news for me because we see that there's the bowl here, which is free for my opponent and would give them a progress token. So my move at this point is I think I decide that I go first, and I think I'm just going to discard the bowl. I don't. I take the wood. Okay. I understand why I did this, because my 2 best wonders in this game are very heavy on wood. The Hanging Gardens cost 2 wood, and the Great Library costs 3 wood. So I was desperate for wood, but I think in retrospect that might have been the wrong move. I think I might have been better off getting rid of the bowl, because that would deny my opponent a progress token. Instead, they're going to take that for more coins. So, urbanism. What this token does is it gives you 6 coins right off the bat, and also makes it so that anytime you buy a card with a free chain from a different card, right, you gain another 4 coins every time you do that. So it could potentially be quite a good token, especially if you're going heavy science like my opponent is, so you get more free chain potential with science. Anyway, at this point, the move for me, so again, I'm faced with the choice of, do I discard the science card to deny them a token, or do I take this yellow card that instantly gives me 6 coins? In this case, I think my best move, since I already have a lot of money right now, I think the best move might be using the science card to maybe build the library. And with the library, you want to build that earlier whenever possible because you want to know which progress tokens you get from the library, and that lets you decide your future game plan. And that's exactly what I do. I deny them a second progress token, and I'm going to choose strategy. Ooh. Unfortunately, the replay viewer doesn't show you which 3 tokens were available, but strategy is a great pull for me here. So the strategy token, what does this do? Strategy is, in my opinion, I think it's probably the best overall progress token in the base game. Actually, it might be best in expansions too, but probably both. Both playing with expansions and in the base game. Why is strategy so powerful? I consider it that there's a thing in this game. I hinted at this earlier. It has what I call the broken tokens. So the 3 broken progress tokens in the base game are strategy, theology, and law. And these will show up later in the video. We'll explain them as we go along. But strategy, what this does is every red card you buy, it adds an extra +1 to its attack power. So you see that this, for example, that's the wall there, brother. So the wall there, it's normally worth 2 shields. It does 2 points of damage on the military track. But with strategy, now that I have strategy, this would become worth 3 for me. So yeah, every red card gets buffed by 1 for the rest of the game now. And that gives you a really strong opportunity to achieve military wins, which is one of my favorite ways to win in this game. So now I've decided at this point, this is why I wanted to build the library early, is now I have a game plan. I have a set game plan. I decide, okay, I am losing the resource battle very badly to my opponent here. They have a much more well-rounded resource profile than I do. They're going to be stronger than me on economy. And being strong on economy normally means you're going to win on VP. Victory points tend to go to the player with the stronger resource economy. And I am very much losing that battle right now, which is typical for player 2 in the base game. So now I'm deciding to commit to military instead. I think that's how I play this. I'm just going to go all in on the military plan, now that I got the strategy token. So what Scop's going to do? I think they're going to take the yellow card. Yes, because it's free money. It's a bunch of free money. And they desperately need a yellow card too to buff their discards. So what this does now is it opens up this the wheel symbol. And this is, again, this would give them a progress token if they were to take it. I could potentially build a wonder to deny them this. Or just discard it, either way. And I don't really need the stone. There's this card here that gives you 2 stone, but I already have the yellow card that makes my stone really cheap, so I don't particularly need this, right? So I think I gotta do something with the wheel. The question is, do I build a wonder or do I discard? I think if I were to play this now, maybe I might discard. Here, I think I maybe build the Circus Maximus, which is the other option. You could build Circus Maximus in order to get rid of their glass. That is a worthy consideration too. That is what I do. See, I'm still not sure about if that was the better play now. If I would just discard instead. I'm not sure. It feels like a close decision to me, either way. Okay, so now what Scop's going to do? Scops doesn't have a huge need for stone either because they already have 1 stone, plus they could build the lighthouse, which would give them the extra wildcard resource that includes stone. They might take the papyrus. I think they take the papyrus, either that or build a wonder. So here's the thing. They desperately need papyrus for their economy because of the cost of their wonders, right? They might just take papyrus here. Or they could try to use one of their extra turn wonders and build the wall instead to try to prevent me from getting too far up in military. Okay, no, interesting to go a different route. They build the lighthouse using the stone card. Okay. That I'm not so sure about. So now I face this decision. What's this decision here? Right, so I could take the glass because I do still need glass. that is a resource I am missing, and also my opponent is missing it. So glass has value to both of us, right? The other option is I think I could just buy the blue building for the aqueduct. Maybe, so one thing about having the strategy token, and this is kind of a more advanced type of thinking, is you can use the strategy token to pretend like you're going to just commit to military, and then you can, after a bit of that, you can kind of sneakily pivot to going for victory points, because your opponent will be forced to defend against military threats and deal with any red cards that appear, and that could potentially open up opportunities for you to grab points from them instead. That is a way that you can use the threat of a strategy token to win games even if you don't get the military win. So there is consideration for taking this blue building too, because 5 points is the most that any building is worth in H2. It would cost me a decent little chunk of change, but not too bad, because again, I do have that yellow card with stone. I could also just discard the blue and decide, I need as much money as I can get from my military cards, and especially my Colossus, because it's looking like my Colossus is going to be really, really expensive right now. And that is a key wonder if we're going to go for the military plan. So I might just discard this. I take a different tack. So what I do instead is I use my extra turn on the glass card, and I use that because I want to buy the Caravansary. This is a yellow card that gives you the wild card brown resource. It's the same benefit as the Great Lighthouse. And I'm just desperate for clay. So I think, in retrospect, I think this is one of the key big mistakes I made in the game. Not taking the clay card in age 1 and then making this move here was my other biggest mistake. Because if I was going to commit to military, what I should have done was save that extra turn to use to obtain a military card later in the game, like a big military card. Because there are some red cards in H3 that are worth 3 shields, which would be 4 with my strategy token. So I do think that this is too defensive of a play for me, when really I should be focusing on a more offensive strategy, because playing defensively, they're set up to play that game much better than I am, because they're better on resources. So now what do they do here? They might still take the Papyrus. Either that, or, again, I still think their choice is the same thing. They take the Papyrus, or they use an extra turn and get the wall instead. And they're going to use the extra turn for the wall. Yep, I can see the justification for that. Since they already built the lighthouse, Papyrus is a little bit less desperate of a need for them. Now this flips up the other red card, and I think I'm 100% going to take this because at this point especially, I just have no chance to win this game besides military. But even though that's 6 coins, which is extremely expensive for a red, I have to do this. I have to take every red card I possibly can. So that means I'm also going to buy this. The one that costs 3 coins and it's only worth 1 shield. It gets buffed to 2 with my strategy, which makes it a lot more worth it. So that's my easy no-brainer play there, because again, I'm committed to the strategy. Unfortunately for me, this reveals the third and final 2 shield card in Age 2. So a general rule is that the cards worth 2 shields are the most powerful overall cards in Age 2. Because if you ignore those cards and you let your opponent have them, it just makes it way too easy for them to get a military win. So you have to fight for these. And my opponent is 100% going to take this red card here. They have especially with me having strategy, there's just no other choice. Now, unfortunately, there's the 2 stone card available, but the problem is I can't afford it. I think the better play for me here, I think I might want to discard this blue building, the one that's free for both of us. I think I might want to discard that play because this will set me up to where I could buy either the 2 clay card, or I could buy this customs house, which makes all gray resources only cost 1 for me. That's also pretty valuable for me right now. I decide to discard the clay. I did that because I was scared of my opponent buying it, and just making clay even more absurdly expensive for me. But I don't know if that would have been the best move for them anyway. I'm not sure. I think, again, that was a bit playing too scared. They buy the blue because they're trying to set themselves up for a chance to win in victory points. So that's clearly the move for them. And I discard the Customs House. You could make a case for me buying it, but I decide at this point the coins from discarding are more important for me since I don't need gray resources as much for the military cards in Age 3. So I'm just going to focus on getting my money up. Especially because, again, this Colossus is hugely expensive for me, and I will want to build that. And time's running out for me to build the Colossus also, because there is a mechanic in this game where, fitting with the name 7 Wonders, only 7 total wonders can be built in the game. So once one player has built all 4 of their wonders, the other player can only build 3. So if Scops were to build the Sphinx, then the statue of Zeus in a row, that would cut me off from building the Colossus. And I really want to get that Colossus in there. But I have to buy this red card first. There's just, again, no other choice. In order for me to win, I have to buy any red card I possibly can. And especially one that's free. So Scops, being behind in the military track, is going to go first in Age 3. What are they going to do? They could take one of these yellow cards. And they take that because it gives them 2 coins for every brown card they have. So it's worth a lot of money for them. That's the right play. Now here, I face an interesting decision. Here's the thing. This card, this guild, this is worth this is worth money for me. It actually makes me a slight profit if I were to buy this. And it'll be worth a good amount of points at the end of the game. Because the way this works, the way these guilds work is you score 1 point for the amount of cards. Okay, so these scoring is based on color cards. So like this one's for yellow cards. What this means is the player who has the most yellow cards at the end of the game, you score 1 point for each yellow card they have. And this does the same thing with green. So I could consider buying this. However, what they could do here is there's a chance that they could build the Sphinx and then the statue of Zeus consecutively with the extra turn and deny me from the Colossus. Now, thinking about it now, I might have been better off just either buying or discarding this guild. Because if they were to use their extra turn now, that would remove their control over the rest of the game. And potentially leave them vulnerable to other military threats. So I think in retrospect, I maybe should have taken the guild, but instead I think I build the Colossus here, using the yellow guild. Yeah, see, I'm not sure about this play in retrospect. Also, part of why I did this is, it reaches this threshold, right? Sorry. So, when you reach this area of the military track, the opponent loses 5 coins. So that was part of my consideration too. However, it's going to get them a very powerful guild here, this green guild. They're going to make instant money from it, and it'll score them a bunch of points at the end. And now I have no choice but to discard this yellow card. There's no other play I can make here. And what happens? They get a red card. So this is very, very, very bad for me. Because now this takes away... this significantly hurts the chances of a military win. Because of course they're going to take it, right? And I think my best move at this point is I have to take this yellow card that gives you 1 coin for each yellow card you have, in addition to 3 points. So this is going to make me money, and it's free for me. I definitely have to take this. Now what this is going to do is this. My opponent could decide to use their extra turn and use... Okay, so here's what they can do. They can use this card to build the Sphinx and then buy this worth 3 shields because they will have the 8 coins to afford it. And that right there is going to pretty much kill my chances at a military win. So I think it's what they do. Yeah. So they can't build Statue of Zeus, but it doesn't matter. I think they're just going to do that. Yes, they have to, right? So now, what do I do here? I see at this point, I kind of have to just go for points because I'm not going to win on military. And they get the urbanism benefit of 4 coins from taking a military card with a free connection. And I buy this in order to still stay on the positive side of the military ledger. And now they get a science card here. Here. So I have a decision here. Because they got this, the pointy symbol, they can take this other science card with the same symbol. And the best token for them would be this one because this is 7 victory points. And at this point, it's looking like the game is definitely going to reach the end and come down to points. So they would want this. So in my position, I might be tempted to just discard this to deny them the token. No, instead I take this. Because that would also be a very good card for them, but I think in retrospect, maybe I was better off denying the science. I'm not sure. I do get the first flip of these new cards, which might have been part of my motivation as well. I'll definitely take the 7-point card. That's a given. But I think it's just a lost cause at this point, because my opponent gets this blue building for free, and they get the blue guild. I do get this, which is worth money. So that's worth 2. This card's worth 2 coins for each wonder you've built, so I get 8 coins from it. That's a nice card for me, but it's too little too late. So here, what do? I think for me, the play is to actually buy the red card. The reason for this is, you may notice on the left, like the point in the military track you're at is worth a certain number of victory points at the end. So right now, I would score 2 victory points for military at the end of the game. But if I were to buy this red card, since I have the strategy token, it would push me all the way up to the 10-point marker. So this is effectively an 8-point card for me. And I think that's what I do is I buy this, yeah, because the science card is not really worth much for my opponent anyway. Not a whole lot. But yeah, they are definitely going to kick my ass on this one. They're just way ahead on points. Yep, as you can see. So, yeah, I do think I made a number of mistakes here. Not being aggressive enough going for resources in Age 1, then being too aggressive going for resources in Age 2. When I should have stayed committed to the military game plan and saved my extra turn wonder for Age 3. I think those were the main mistakes that cost me this game. So now, I actually lost my first game in this tournament. That puts me in a really bad situation because typically to win a group, you need to have only lost like 1 or 2 games at most in order to qualify out of a group in this tournament. So we are going to go over to our next game now. And we are going to view the replay of this. And as always, we're going to choose my perspective to be the replay. So once again, we're second player. However, this is a much lower rated player in ELO, as you can see. BGA has its own weird kind of ELO system that's not the traditional numbering. So like 200s is kind of like a lower mid-level player, sort of, is how you can read that. So anyway, I'm up against a different opponent, and they get first player again. So already I'm kind of dreading this. But what wonder should they take here? So there's no extra turn wonders in this set. And that leads to some tougher decisions for my opponent. What does Cosmogon want to do here? So there's the Circus Maximus, the Library, and the Lighthouse. We've already seen those wonders before. One that we haven't seen yet is the Mausoleum. This one's interesting in that it's maybe the most expensive wonder to build because of how stacked the costs are. It's 2 glass and 2 clay. In general, like, it's harder to afford multiple of the same resource type than it is to afford, like, 4 or 5 different resource types. So the Mausoleum is very expensive, but what it does is scores 2 points, not much, but it allows you to instantly take any card from the discard pile. And that can be quite valuable in this game because you can see here, we have the strategy token as one of our choices on the right side this time. So so to get the strategy token, you can use the Mausoleum to make a big military play, since the card you take will get buffed by the strategy token. So that's something to keep in mind. I personally think the Mausoleum is the best wonder in this set. That's the one I would pick if I were in Cosmogon's shoes. Also, one other token to note here is interesting is Theology. This is one of the other main broken tokens that I've talked about before. So what this one does is it gives all of your wonders the extra turn property. Now, if a wonder already has an extra turn, it does not add an extra one to it, because that would just be beyond broken, right? This just gives the extra turn property to wonders that don't already have it. That's still going to be really strong in this game, it looks like, so keep an eye out on science cards. You'll want to fight for these tokens. That's one thing that's already in my mind here. So, surprisingly, Cosmogon takes the Circus Maximus as the wonder of choice. I think the Mausoleum is clearly the pick, so I'm very happy to get it. And even though the choices for the library will be weaker because some of the strongest tokens are already available here on the side, I still think the library is better than the Lighthouse. Like, I pretty much never voluntarily pick the Lighthouse in this game, either in the base game or even in the expansion. I never want the Lighthouse. So, yeah. I'm going to take the Mausoleum in the library. Now I get first pick of the wonders. So we've seen the Sphinx, we've seen the Appian Way. Then now, two new wonders to explain here are the Pyramids and Piraeus. The Pyramids are very simple. It just scores you 9 victory points, and that's all it does. This one, because it literally does nothing except score points, I think this is hands down the worst wonder in the game, the Pyramids. I keep saying Lighthouse is the second worst. This is why. The Pyramids are easily weaker than even the Lighthouse. Because the Lighthouse could at least give you a small amount of potential utility for a science or military strategy. Pyramids do nothing for you in that regard. So, Piraeus. Piraeus, I think, is the second best wonder in the base game. What this does is, it's 2 points, it gives you an extra turn, and the key thing is, it gives you a wild card gray resource. And so, this is really strong because you don't need that many gray resources to cover that part of your economy. So this in itself can potentially be enough in gray resources to get you through the game. And if you get even just one gray card in addition to that, like, you're golden, pretty much. So I think the clear pick is Piraeus for me here, which is what I did. My opponent, I'm expecting to take the Sphinx and the Appian Way because those are the other two extra turn wonders. And of course, they're going to do that and leave me the Pyramids. Cosmogon goes first. What's Cosmogon going to do? In this situation, because we both have some wonders that require multiple clay, I have the Mausoleum, they have the Appian Way, I think the best move for Cosmogon is to take the yellow card for clay, since that will guarantee they'll have cheap clay for the rest of the game. And also buff their discard power. And yes, that's exactly what they do. That is the correct move. What's the move for me? What I want here is, I think the move for me might actually be to take the wood over the stone. Even though the stone card is free and this wood card costs 1 coin, I think wood is better for me here because my wonders are very heavy on wood. Piraeus costs 2 and the Great Library costs 3 wood. So I might actually take the wood here. No, instead I do take the stone. Now, the other positive to the stone is it doesn't flip a new card for my opponent. So that's probably why I went with that. In retrospect, thinking on it now, I'm still not sure if that was the right move. I think this one was a pretty close call. My opponent's wonders are kind of heavy on stone also, so yeah, I probably did the right thing there, probably. Especially considering there is the yellow card for wood available as well. That can cover all my wood needs right there, if I can get that. So my opponent naturally takes the wood, since I left it there, and there's no other... and there isn't another resource card on there. Now, they could have potentially taken the science card instead, because again, with the strategy and theology tokens both available, science could be very, very important in this game. So they could have gone science as well. That might have been better for them, but I think also they wanted to really threaten to drive up the cost of my wonders by taking wood. So that's a defensible play for them, I think. That's a close call for them. Anyway, by them taking the wood, they reveal this free clay, and that's exactly what I'm going to take. Again, free brown cards, you can't really go wrong with those. And clay is also important for both of us, especially since, you know, well, they got the clay reserve, the yellow card, so I especially need to get clay now. So this leaves my opponent in this situation, and I think here their only viable move at this point is to take the science card, the bull. Yes, that's the only good card available for them. Because as I mentioned, science token's really important. So what's my move at this point? I think my best move here is to either buy or discard this blue building, the baths. This building is worth 3 points. It costs stone. The other 2 blue buildings are free. Why does this one cost a resource? Because it gives you a free chain to a 5-point building in Age 2. And that alone makes it the strongest of the blue buildings in Age 1, I think. So I might end up just buying this. Especially since I don't have a yellow card yet, my discards are only worth 2 coins. So I think I'll just buy the blue building to set myself up for a victory point win in the future. That's a play I think I would make here. And the reason I want to do this is it'll put my opponent in a spot where they're forced to to reveal something for me to take, no matter what they do. So yes, I buy the baths. Yes, I do think that's the right play. This is an extremely lucky flip for my opponent. They get Papyrus, which is something they really need because of the Appian Way and the Lighthouse. So I think that's clearly the pick for them. They're going to do that, and that's going to leave me the yellow card for stone, and I'm going to take that. Because again, I need yellow cards. I need to buff my discard power. I need to make more money from my discards. So my opponent buys the blue building there. I think that's a mistake on their part. I think they definitely should have discarded that blue because they have, as you can see, they have no money right now. You always have to keep your money up at this stage in the game. So I think they made a mistake, and I am going to buy this other clay. Easy pick for me, because I need it for Mausoleum. This reveals the stone card that costs 1, and what's funny about this is they can't even afford this card. So now I have a resource monopoly on stone for the time being, since they have to discard it. Yeah, they don't really have another choice there. Now there's a red card here, and I have no choice but to, because I can't afford to make any different move here. I think because, as I mentioned, you don't want to buy red cards in Age 1. I'm just going to discard this and take the chance flipping new stuff for them. And this is a very weak set of new cards for them, so I'm pretty happy with that. What do I do here? I discard again because, yeah, anything else would cost too much money for me at this point. And also, they still can't afford the yellow card for wood. However, they'll probably get rid of it. Which they do, and that's unfortunate for me because I need wood right now. And that yellow card would have been amazing for me. I'm going to discard again. I'm going to not use my extra turn. So, because as of right now, I only have 1 wonder that gives me an extra turn, I am not going to use that in Age 1. I really want to save that for the mid to late game to make a really high leverage move. Now my opponent buys this other blue card. Again, I think this is a mistake for them. I think they should have discarded the blue because they need to build up their money. And thus, I am going to take the yellow card for free money. Free money and extra discard power. Now they take the science. That surprises me. They seem to be aiming for a science win, but the problem is there's no way they can get the law token. The law token is not on the board on the right side, and I have the Great Library, so if anyone could get the law token in this game, it would be me. And to explain what the law token is, that's the last of what I call the broken tokens. The law token functions as a wildcard science symbol. So if you get law, what law basically means is, if you get the law token, you only need 5 of these 6 unique science symbols to win the game. Law makes it much, much, much easier to get a science win. So my opponent is committing to science, but there's no way they can get law. So I think it's a very risky move on their part. And I think just between buying all the science and buying the blue buildings, like, they're setting themselves up for a very poor situation economically, especially because now I get to buy the glass. and go first in H2. And so what's the decision for me here? I don't need stone. I already have both the yellow card for stone and 1 stone too. So with anything I buy, like if something only costs 1 stone, that 1 stone's going to be free for me. And then any stone after that will just be 2. Oh, each will cost 1. So I don't need the stone. What I could do is potentially buy or discard it, though, in order to create a resource monopoly. Because I could extremely jack up the price of stone for my opponent since they don't have any by buying this. And because they cannot afford this red card, I'm really considering doing that. I'm definitely going to go first in H2. It's just a matter of what I do. As I mentioned in my discussion of the last game, the 2 shield cards, the red cards worth 2 shields are generally the most valuable in H2. However, in this case, my opponent cannot afford this. So I think I might be tempted to go for the resource monopoly, which I do. I decide to just kill stone for them. So you can see, look at how much these wonders cost for them right now. They get a blue building with a free connection. They might take that, which they do. That gives me Papyrus, and I will take this. It's free, and Papyrus, I don't have it yet, so it's good for me. Now I reveal a green card. And this one would be really good for my opponent because this is the feather, which is the last symbol they don't have yet. If my opponent could buy this, they would then have potential for a science win in H3, and that would be extra scary for me. However, they cannot afford it. So I'm going to make sure one way or another that they do not get that green. They still can't afford the green even after a discard since it costs 8 for them. That's the power of my stone monopoly. What am I going to do here? I think here, I'm looking so good on the resource front, I just don't have wood, but everything else is great for me. So I think I might just try to go for points. Or I buy that, yeah. I will buy that in order to just completely, further take gray resources away from them. Now they have this red card. In their situation, I might have maybe bought the red or at least discarded it because, again, you don't want to be too casual about letting your opponent have those red cards, especially if they're free for them. Like, this card's free for me because I have all the resources for it. So I might just... Oh, no. Because they can afford... That's right. This makes sense. Because my opponent can now afford that feather card, I am immediately going to take it away from them. And I do that by building the mausoleum for the red card. So here's the thing about the mausoleum. A good general rule about how to play the mausoleum is you either want to use it for a science card that you need for the science win. You can use it for a red card to push for a military win. Those tend to be the strongest uses for the mausoleum. And the reason is the mausoleum is very weak if you only use it for victory points. Because the wonder itself is only worth 2. So if I were to build the mausoleum and use it to take a 7-point blue building, which is the highest possible you can get from a blue, that would only be worth the same amount of points as the pyramids. And as I mentioned earlier, the pyramids absolutely suck. So yeah, the mausoleum is much, much more powerful when used for science or military than when it's used for points. However, there is another interesting possibility in this game to venture a bit outside the norm. What I could do is I could use the mausoleum to obtain the yellow card for wood. And this right here will instantly solve all of my problems with wood for the rest of the game. So I could either take the red card or I could take the wood. And I think at this point, with how I'm looking in the resource battle right now, I might take the wood actually and just focus on winning victory points. My opponent is ahead on points right now, but I have the stronger economy, and stronger economy is what usually wins VP by the end of the game. So I might take the wood here. And yes, that's exactly what I do. I go for the wood. My opponent surprisingly takes the blue card. I kind of didn't expect that, but I guess they didn't need the money, so it makes sense. I think I'm definitely going to take the yellow card on the right, since it's free money for me, and it does not reveal a new card for my opponent. And that's exactly what I did. My opponent, though, they maybe should have taken the yellow and let me have the blue building. because my opponent's wonders are so expensive that they maybe do need the money. So maybe they should have done what I did instead. I'm not sure. Tough spot for them. I'm putting my opponent in a really tough spot in general here because of this stone monopoly. It's really doing a number on them. They're trying to push for military, so I see no decision to make here. I am instantly going to take this red card. It does not let my opponent reveal any new cards, and it doesn't flip any new cards for my opponent, and it gives me the military attack that I need right now. So yes, I don't want any possibility of them getting a military win. So what do we do here? Neither of us need clay. We're both solid on clay. Now, there is a 5-point blue building, and that's really good for me because if I'm going to win in VP, I'm going to have to start collecting blue buildings since my opponent has the early lead on those. So I think if I were in this situation, I might just buy the 5-point building. And yes, that's exactly what I do. I think that's the right move. My opponent gets this blue building, but it costs them 5, so I don't think they should buy it. They might discard it. They buy it, and I actually think that might be a mistake for them. Because again, with their economy right now, they desperately need money. So what do I do here? I think again, I do not want to burn my extra turn wonder at this stage. So I might just try to maybe build a library. I don't need either of these cards. I might, since my opponent has more of a need for wood than for clay, I might, what I might do here is use this 2 wood card, use that to build the library, and see what token I get. Yep, that's exactly what I do. I think that's the right play also. So I didn't see what tokens were available, but it seems like this was one of the better ones I could get. So this token agriculture, this is one of the safest progress tokens to take in general. Like, it's never bad for you. This gives you 4 points. So this scores you 4 victory points and gives you 6 coins. So it's well-rounded in what it does. Like, if you're aiming to win on points, this is a really strong token. So that's the one I take because I'm confident I can win on VP. And so yeah, my opponent, I guarantee you they're going to take the bowl and get the progress token, since that's a free chain for them. And which token do I think they take? I think they might take theology. They take urbanism. That surprises me. That one really surprises me. I think that's a mistake for them. I can understand why urbanism, because they need money right now. They need the short-term cash. But I think if I were them, I maybe would have gone for theology, since that would give them, they'd be able to use it for at least 1 wonder, which would most likely be the lighthouse. So they could use theology, and that gives them an extra turn on the lighthouse. That would be more useful than the short-term money from urbanism, I think. Actually, strategy might be even better, probably. Strategy might have been the best pick for them, come to think of it, and just maybe try to force a military win. They're in a bad spot right now because science win is impossible for them. They cannot get all 6 symbols. So they might have had to just pivot to military. Strategy was probably the best move for them, yeah. Anyway, I am going to get rid of this science card so they can't get another token. And I do so, I just go ahead and build the pyramids because it's free. And I don't have to worry about my opponent building all their wonders before I do, because look at how expensive theirs are, right? My opponent now builds the lighthouse, which does make sense. They have a desperate need for the lighthouse at this stage. And for me, what do I do here? I think for me, the play is just to discard. And it doesn't matter because Cosmo cannot afford either of these cards coming up, so it doesn't matter which I discard. I'm just going to discard something, and then we move on to H3. They discard 2 because that's the only play they can make. And now at this stage, they decide to begin H2. They're likely going to go for H2 themselves. In their shoes, I think I would discard the military here, because there's still potential for me to win on military this game. So I think that's what they should focus on. But no, they go for the points instead. They decide they're going to go for the points by taking the card. This card gives you 1.1 coin for each blue card that the player with the most blue cards has. So it's worth 5 coins for them, and it will also be worth 1 point at the end of the game for each blue card that the player with the most blue cards has. So it's a seductive card for points in this situation, but I think they made a mistake. I think they need to focus more on the military threat right now, because I take the military instead. So I can take money, I can reduce their money this way, and I can really just threaten another win condition on them. What do? They take the science card. I do not like that play. I'm not sure if they're aware that they can't get a science win. This would obviously make sense if they had all 4 symbols going into H3, but they don't. So I don't like this move. It's a very expensive buy for them for what could be very little return. So I think they should have maybe discarded the green instead. So that way, and that would have been the best move for them probably, because that way, then I would have to flip them a new card or be forced to use my extra turn wonder to get this red card. So what I'm going to do here is I take the yellow card, since that gives me a couple coins and it scores 3 points. They discard because that's the only play they can make. What I do here is I'm going to take the blue card because I'm still thinking I can win on points, especially because I have the big military advantage right now, and military is also worth points at the end of the game. Don't forget that. So I'm going to buy the blue building since it's free and it won't flip a red card for them. So I do that. They're going to buy the science card again. They keep leaving themselves without money to build wonders. So that's leaving me in a big advantage. The move for me is to buy the yellow card that gives you 2 coins for each wonder you built, because that's a card my opponent can afford. I take the blue building. I don't think I like that play. Since my opponent would not have been able to afford that card, I think the better move was for me to take the yellow card, since they could afford that. And now I'm going to take this yellow card, since that's worth a bunch of coins for me in addition to the 3 points. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention too is if you have money left over at the end of the game, you score 1 victory point for each 3 coins you have left at the end. So that's another factor too with me buying some of these yellow cards. The coins they give me can be turned into points at the end. My opponent, what do they do at this point? I think they buy or discard. Yeah, they discard, which makes sense. They need money. Obviously, I'm going to buy the red card at this point. Or no, I don't. Because they can't afford it. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm just kind of pivoting to VP instead of military, because I can see where I'm going for here. Because my opponent's resource situation is so bad, I think that the VP route is the safer way for me to win this game at this point. So yeah, they have to discard, and then I'm going to buy the red card, because I still want to push for that military threat. What are they going to do here? I think they would just discard the card on the left. Or no, actually, no, wait. They buy the green guild, because the green guild's worth a lot of points, especially with the money it gives you. They do that. I'm not sure about that play. They're clearly going to buy this. It's worth a lot of points, but I think they would have been better off just not using the wonder. So what do I do at this point? I see a very obvious play here, because they could, well, okay, let's go back on this. Let's actually, before I reflex it, let's look at what they're doing here. I have a couple options. I could just simply buy the blue card, since, it's worth 6 points. That's a good chunk. I could buy the blue card, and I could let them buy the green card, because that lets them take the progress token. And the one they would take this late in the game is mathematics, because this scores you 3 victory points for each progress token you have, including this itself. So because they will have 2 progress tokens, this would be worth 6 points for them. So I could just let them have that, because 6 points isn't too much at this stage. I'm not overly worried about that. The other possibility is this. I could instead use this green card to build the Piraeus for the extra turn, and buy the red card to get myself an additional 5 points and reduce their money, which would reduce their points. However, this blue card is free for them. I'm not sure which one I would do. I would probably buy the blue. But I do this instead. In retrospect, I think I would have just bought the blue card. But I'm just going to go for this route instead. To deny them a progress token. And at this point, I just discard. Yeah. Because that's worth more for me than the card itself is. Anyway, opponent's going to get a bunch of points from the guilds, but I get points from the coins and the military. So yeah, this ends up being again, a pretty safe and secure victory point win for me, as I predicted based on the resources. So this is an example of how, even though my opponent got the early scoring lead, getting more of those early blue cards, my greater advantage in money and resources ultimately won me the war on points. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Economy is what usually wins VP. All right, so that's game 2 in the books. We are now 1-1. And with that, let's move on to game 3 in the Swiss group. So Pentateuques, or no, Pentateuques. It's been so long since I took French. I'm forgetting my pronunciation here. Let's just say Penta. Penta el cero miedo, you know? All right. Yes, I'm butchering multiple languages today. How are you? Okay, so now we get to this game. And this is a player who's much closer to me in rating now. So I definitely am going to have to stay sharp for this one. Luckily, for the first time in this tournament, I get first player. Yay! That's already a big, big deal for me. As I mentioned, first player advantage is massive in base game 7 Winners Duel. Okay. So, wonders here. We've already seen these other 3. The Temple of Artemis, the last one here, I think this is easily the best wonder in the base game. There is never a situation ever where I would take any other wonder over Artemis, not in the base game. The reason is this. It's really easy to build, it's really cheap, because it only costs 4 resources, and it's a different type of resource for each of them. So the cost of this wonder gets less affected by your opponent having a resource monopoly, right? So it's really cheap and easy to build, and it gives you 12 coins. Now, it doesn't score any victory points for you, so that is the disadvantage of it. But honestly, that barely even matters. The 12 coins you get from this thing, plus having an extra turn, it's just mind-boggling what you can get out of this. So no-brainer pick, I take Artemis first. What will my opponent take here? I'm predicting... So here's the thing. I think the Mausoleum is really strong again in this game, and the reason for this is we have the Law token on the board. So the Law token, remember, makes it so that you need one less science symbol to win the game on science. And Mausoleum can set you up for plays where you would discard a science card if you can't afford it earlier on, and then you can use the Mausoleum later in the game to get that science card when you need it to complete your set. So the Law token being in the game, so like a good general rule is the Strategy token and the Law token are both huge buffs to the Mausoleum. Think of it that way. So if I were them, I would take the Mausoleum, and I would take Zeus because, again, I think Zeus in general is just always better than Circus Maximus by a little bit. And that's exactly what they take. So yes, good choices on their part. I would have done the exact same thing. Now, they get Penta gets the first pick of the Wonder here, and as we discussed before, there's Piraeus. I think Piraeus is the pick for them. I think it's just universally the second best Wonder. You can save so much money in the long run from that wildcard grade resource you get out of it. easily the pick here. And the pick for me is just as easy. I'm going to take these other 2 wonders with an extra turn. So this game is really absurd for me because before we've even started the game officially, I have first player advantage and I have 3 extra turn wonders to their 1. That is just, that's like one of the biggest advantages you can get this early in the game. So I really have no excuses at all if I lose this one. So what's the first choice for card for me here? We have Papyrus. I think we have a bunch of really strong ones. Free Wood. We have the Papyrus. And again, gray resources in Age 1 are really good because there's only 2 of them. They're very rare. And also there's the yellow card for clay. I think in my case, I'm going to take the yellow card here because my opponent, their wonders are very heavy on clay. Literally all of their wonders cost clay, in fact. And look at how much these are. So this yellow card would be a dream for them, and I'm going to deny it. Yes, that's exactly what I do. What do they do? I think their best move is, even though it would reveal a new card for me, I think they should take the Papyrus still. They take the Science card. Now, that's actually reasonable. Actually, that's a good point. I forgot about this. Because the Law token is on the board, that makes all the Science cards much more valuable too. So I think that's a very reasonable choice on their part to go for the Feather, since that has a free chain associated with it too. They want to, make early moves to threaten that Science win. So I think that's also a fine play by them. In retrospect, that might have been better than Papyrus, honestly. So now what am I going to do? Because this creates a situation where I'm going to flip new cards for them now. And I think I could just discard the red card. But I think the cards here are a little too good for me to do that. I might just take Papyrus. Yep, I take Papyrus. That's exactly what I do. And they get a yellow card, the free one for 4 coins, so I think that's their pick. Yep. I think it's a pretty easy choice because they needed a yellow card anyway to buff their discards, and also it doesn't flip anything new for me. So what do I do at this point? I have the free wood, which is really tempting, but I think the move for me might actually be to just take this green card because now that I got the Papyrus, this is free for me. And yes, that's what I do. I think that's the right move because when the Law token's in the game, you are forced to play defensively around it. If you're not going offensive on Science, you have to play defensively on Science. So I do think that's the correct move for me. And this is an interesting flip for me. So my opponent is going to get the yellow card for wood, most likely. Because that, gives them all the cheap wood for the rest of the game. Denies it from me. I think that's the pick for them because, again, more yellows is good. More yellows buffs your discards. This means now I have extra pressure to take the brown card that gives you wood. And that's exactly what I do. I really didn't have any other choice there. Oh boy, this flips the bowl for them. So now this is starting to look a little scary because they're going to take this green card, and now they're already, in kind of starting to get to that danger zone for a Science win. My choice now is I'm going to discard the blue building and force them to probably just ditch the red card and reveal something new for me. That's my pick. I think here the best move for me without a doubt is to take the clay because they don't have any clay yet. So yeah, I can potentially force that resource monopoly on clay to really make life hard for them. And they discard, which I think is right. Here, do I discard or buy the blue building? I might discard still. I'd buy the blue building. I'm not sure about this in retrospect. Actually, no, wait, never mind. Look at my wonders. Never mind. I think buying the blue is fine because I have look at how much money I get from my wonders, right? 12 and a 6 from these. So okay, I think buying the blues, I can understand why it would make sense for me. Now they're gonna get this other yellow card too. Like they're getting really, really good luck with the yellow cards. However, I get the last wood, and that's very important. And why is it important? Because my opponent has the Statue of Zeus, they can destroy one of my brown cards. However, because of me having the yellow card for clay and me having 2 brown cards for wood, That means they cannot completely cut off either of those resources for me. Stone, though, is the one that is risky for me right now. So I am being mindful of that. Anyway, they're going to discard that, flip something new for me. So my move at this point, now, it may look sexy to take the last clay and force the resource monopoly on them for clay. However, that would be suicide for me here because of look at the law token and look at where we're at with science. If my opponent were to get this science card, they are already in position to threaten a science win for H3. I cannot afford that this early in the game. So I have to do something with that science card. And what I opt for in this case is to build my wonder and to buy the glass. And that's going to drive up their gray resource costs and prevent them from getting into that science position. And now what this will do is it forces them... Okay, so now we're in a situation where, as usual, we're both even on military in Age 1. And that means they would have to use their extra turn wonder if they want to go first in Age 2. And this is their only extra turn wonder they have. If I were them, I would not use it. And I think they actually made the right choice not to use it. Because they need wood. They need the clay. Sorry, the clay. They really needed to get the clay, right? So I think their best move is what they did. They take the clay and they just let me go first in H2. And as I mentioned before, because I have great resources outside of stone and I can get a lot more money from the Temple of Artemis, I'm buying all the blue buildings. I'm trying to set myself up for a VP win. Anyway, I go first here. What's my move is either this card. So this is a yellow card that gives you like a wild card gray resource. So it functions like the Piraeus Wonder. Or the free money, the free 6 coins. I think I go for the right card here. Yeah, I do. Because of how much their wonders cost on gray, I don't want to give it to them too easily. Here, oh boy. Now here's where things get interesting. If they were to buy this green card, then that gives them 3 symbols. And 3 symbols is the magic number when the law token's involved. If you have the law token plus 3 symbols, that gives you the potential to win on science. They clearly have to do something with this green card regardless. That's the most pressing threat right now by far. Their moves that I see for them are, they could either buy this, or they could build the Piraeus, and then buy this instead to deny me a progress token. They might do the latter. I think the latter... Actually, let me do the math on this. Yeah, okay, they can afford the latter, so that would be the better play for them, I think. They buy it instead. I can understand it too, because I think also part of their thinking with that is I think they want to save their extra turn for Age 3 to try to win on science. However, what this does mean is I am now going to get my 2 matching compass symbols here. I think that's a compass anyway. That's a free card for me. This is great. What token do I take? Now, if I were to really play this safe, I could take the law token for myself, because that would deny my opponent any chance of a science win. Since they cannot get that 4th symbol, they cannot get law. So the safe play here would be the law token, but in general, I'm not a fan of taking the law token when I'm not planning to win with it myself, because otherwise it just does nothing for you. So I think instead what I'm going to do is take the architecture, or the agriculture, not architecture, agriculture. Agriculture, because I do need the money right now. So that's something I would consider. I think I might take agriculture here. That might sound risky because, again, my opponent could, they're very likely to get the law token at some point here and threaten that science win in Age 3. But look at the situation with their extra turns compared to mine. I still had the advantage there. So I am pretty confident that I can block them from getting the 2 remaining symbols they need in H3, even if they do get law. So with that, I do in fact take agriculture. In general, I think it's a better play to take a token that helps you in this kind of situation than to take law just for the sake of denying it from your opponent. So what does this reveal for my opponent? They're going to get the glass. Now, glass would be nice for them because the mausoleum is particularly heavy on glass cost. However, if they were to take glass, that would let me do something with this feather. Now, I would not want to discard the feather because that lets them use the mausoleum to take it back later in the game. But I could just buy it, and in fact, it would be it would be a pretty cheap card for me. So I would just buy the feather if they let me take it. So yeah, what they're gonna do here is use their extra turn now and get the feather, and they're gonna take the law token. I guarantee that's what they're doing. Yeah. Because at this point, I'm sure they feel like they've already lost the battle on VP against me, and they're going to have to focus on the law token to win the game. So I can understand them making that play. However, I also don't mind that play in a sense, because now this means they have lost all of their ability to manipulate the card row in H3. They can't use an extra turn in H3. I have access to 2 still. So that's what I'm focused on right now. I'm feeling very good about myself, and I'm just going to take my free money from the brewery. Give me those free 6 coins, buddy. Okay, what do they do here? They might buy the blue building. No, because they don't... Well, they don't buy the blue building because then they can... That lets me take military. Although it's not a cheap military card for me, I might still take it just to, push for that military win. Because going for military is also one of the best counters against a science strategy. Since if you go for military and you try to win a military, you can end the game earlier, and thus you could potentially kill them that way before they have a chance to get that last science card they need. So I'm sure that was on Penta's mind too. So what does this get? I am obviously going to buy the stone because this is the exact card that I'm missing. Now, it's very likely that my opponent can build a statue of Zeus to take that stone away from me, but I'm okay with that because it still protects one of my wood from getting destroyed, for instance. So that's still easily the move for me. They buy the Caravansary, which gives them a wildcard brown resource. So that's good. Do we buy this 1 shield card or discard? Oh, no, we do neither. We buy the blue building. We let them go for the military if they want. And they're not going to go for military. And from their perspective, I understand it because if you're going for science, being ahead on the military track is a disadvantage because you let your opponent go first in H2, which could potentially let them deny you a science card. So they're trying to focus on not getting ahead of me on military. All right. So what do we do now? I think we take the blue building. Now, this card here, the Customs House, will be great for them. It'll give them what they're missing in gray resources. But I don't really care about that at this stage because I'm so far ahead on points. I just need to block their science win, and I've got this, I think. What I'm going to do now, I will probably just discard the red card because, yeah, same thing. Same logic that they're operating on. We're both doing the same dance where neither of us wants to get ahead on the military track right now because of how much the game is focused on science at this point. They're going to build the statue of Zeus, and obviously they're going to take away my only stone. Yes. So what do I do now? Do I take the red, or do I take the blue? Do I take the red, or do I take the blue? I think, here's the thing. If they take red, actually what I could do, I could just discard the red instead. That's a possibility. That would reveal a good blue building for them to buy, but I don't know. No, I do just buy the blue building instead. That gives them clay, which is valuable for them. Oh no, they actually don't even get the clay. They get the military. So now I think my opponent is thinking this. Because they have both Mausoleum and Colossus, they're thinking about a potential military win to threaten against me in addition to science. Because look, we have a 2 shield card in the discard. They can use the Mausoleum to build this. And they could also build the Colossus. So I'm actually in a really scary spot right here. And I think in retrospect, the better move for me, instead of buying the blue, would have been to discard the red. Discarding is better because it guarantees I go first in age 3. So I think that might have been the better move here. So I kind of made a mistake there, buying that 5. I got seduced by the 5-point blue. And now they reveal for me. My move here is I'm going to do something with the bowl, and probably build a wonder. Oh no, I'm going to... Actually, I see what I'm doing. I build the aqueduct. I pay 6 coins for that blue building because I really want to push VP. Again, I'm not sure about that in retrospect because that was very expensive for me. Although, again, I do still have Temple of Artemis in the holster. They might... I think the reason I was willing to leave the green card for them here is the remaining progress tokens are not good for their game. They're trying to do a dual... The way they're playing this game is they're going for a dual threat against me with both science and military as possible wins for them. They are fully conceding VP to me. They're not focused on points. And the only progress tokens left are ones that benefit them on points. This is just worth points. This is just worth points. And this just makes blue buildings cheaper. And blue buildings are only points. So none of these really help them, to be honest. That's why I think they're just ignoring the green card here. Now, though, they do take the green card because they don't... I think they decided that the clay is just not as important for them. So they are going to take the points here. And I think I'm just going to discard the clay. Yeah. No other move I can make. What do I do now? Age 3. So I think I have there's a very obvious move I can make here, which is to buy the red card, the Praetorium, because I desperately need to fight back on military. Desperately need this. That's an amazing card for me. And that's a very lucky flip, too, that we did not reveal a science card for them. That's very important right now. We didn't reveal science. We did not reveal military. That's exactly what I wanted to see. They discard the blue building. I am, of course, going to take this because it doesn't flip a new card for them, and it's worth some money for me. And they naturally take the yellow card since it's worth points for them. Here. Okay. Now, the red card I'm less scared of right now because what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking about a way I could maybe try to build all my wonders before theirs. However, there is the threat of this Moneylenders Guild. Moneylenders Guild is the strongest card in Age 3 when it comes to victory points, on average. This is worth... So what this card does is it gives you an extra 1 victory point at the end of the game for every 3 coins from the richest player. So the richest player at the end of the game, however many coins they have, you get 1 point for every 3 of those coins. This can add up to be worth over 10 points. I've even played games where it was worth over 20 before. Like, this can get really ridiculous. So, I could just buy the green card so as to take it away from them. That would be the obvious play. But another thing I considered is, with things like Temple of Artemis, I'm likely to have a bunch of money left at the end of the game. So you could consider just building one of my extra turn wonders using this to build a wonder so that way they cannot grab it with the Mausoleum later and then buy the Moneylenders Guild. Okay, so that is going to be what I do here. In retrospect, I'm not so sure I needed to go this far. I maybe could have just bought the green. But now, what's interesting about this is... Actually, no, wait. I understand why I did this. Here's the reason I did this, right? So I took away one of the cards with like the weird little planet symbol or whatever the hell this is supposed to be, the round symbol. I took away one of the 2 cards with a round symbol. And because they don't have any extra turns left, I can just wait and use my last remaining extra turn to take away the other card with the round symbol. And that will cut off their entire potential for a science win. So, okay, I understand why I did this now. So that is probably the right move. I'm going to buy the Moneylenders Guild for sure. That reveals this, which is not a great card for them. They're probably just going to buy the red. Yes, they do, because now, they still have to focus on their military threat. Because my opponent, I think, is smart enough at this point to see that the science win's not going to be in the cards for them anymore, so they just have to go all in on military now. So I'm going to take whichever one of these 2 cards over here, and probably maybe the yellow card's better. Oh no, I just discard actually. Oh right, I see what I'm doing. Because I have the Moneylenders Guild, it ends up being worth more for me to discard weaker cards than it is to buy them. My opponent, I think, is going to probably just buy this or do something with it. Yeah. Okay, so they build Colossus with it. And now this makes my play very obvious. Remember the 7 total wonders rule, right? So what I'm going to do now to cut off their mausoleum is I have only one choice for what I can do here. One clear optimal play. I am going to use this blue building to build the Sphinx, and then I am going to use this round symbol science card to build Circus Maximus. That will prevent them from using the mausoleum, which is a huge win for me on the military front. So that should leave me safe on military. Yep, see? So I knew what I was doing earlier when I made that play for the Moneylenders Guild. Okay, they're going to get this science card. They could potentially get the mathematics symbol, which would the mathematics symbol, because it's based on number of progress tokens you have. The mathematics token, this would be worth 9 points if they get it. But at this point, I think I'm well enough ahead on VP that I'm just not worried about that. So here, my best move, I think, is to take the red card. Okay, so I go for this instead. I go for the arena. I go for the money, because I got the Moneylenders Guild. Okay, I think I see why I did this, because I'm guaranteed to get the first reveal of these remaining invisible cards, right? So I can get my chance to get red cards if I need them. This is a good card. This is what this guild does is, at the end of the game, so it gives you 1 coin right now for the total number of brown and gray cards in the city that has the most of them, which in this case I have 5 total. So this card is going to be worth 5. This is worth 5 coins and 5 victory points for me. So I'm definitely going to take this. Now they're going to take the red. No, they don't take the red. I'm a little surprised my opponent does not take the red here. Now I'm just going to buy the blue, because blue at this stage is still worth more for me than discarding. And they discard the... Okay. And I decide to take the red card, because this takes me from -5 points on military to even. So this red was effectively a 5-point card for me. My opponent does get the blue building, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to crush this game on victory points, like by far. Because I got Moneylenders Guild, I got all this stuff, right? Yep. So yeah, end up being an easy win on points. So that game, what I think this game shows is this is an example of how you play defensively against someone going for a science strategy. In particular, you really want to save extra turn wonders for age 3. You want to have at least one of those for age 3. Because that gives you a lot more control over the card row, and it lets you make the right play at the right time to deny your opponent their win condition. So that's the lesson to be taken from that game, I think. All right, so now I'm 2-1, just fighting back in the group after my initial loss. And we're going up against kspttw here. So I'm just going to call them KSP. So this is the lowest rated player I've faced yet. And I get first player, so I'm already feeling quite good about this game. So the wonders available here. As I mentioned earlier, Piraeus is clearly the pick. Piraeus is the second best wonder overall. Definitely taking that. Love the gray resources. And my opponent, I'm expecting to take Appian Way and Circus Maximus. General rule is not the pyramids is what you want. And that's what they do. They get first wonder. I'm expecting them to go for Temple of Artemis here. Because Temple of Artemis, yeah. It's the best wonder in the game. So much flexibility you get from the money, cheap cost. That's what they're going to take, right? Which they do. And my choice is also a no-brainer. I get these other two wonders for the extra turn. So this is funny. All 5 of the wonders in the base game that give you extra turns are in this game. And I have the advantage of those 3-2, and I'm first player, so I like how I'm looking in this game right now. So what's my choices? I have the yellow card for stone to give me cheap stone for the rest of the game, and I have papyrus. I think here I'm going to go for the stone because the earlier you get yellow cards, the better, because you can get more out of their discard boost, right? And also, if you look at our wonders, they're very heavy on stone. Me having the pyramids, they have Circus Maximus and the Appian Way, so we both have a lot of need for stone. I think that's the move for me. And I do, in fact, take the stone card. Yes. And they take papyrus, which is exactly what I expected, too, with how rare the gray resources are. Here, I have a couple options. I could just go ahead and take the clay card that costs 1 coin. The problem is this sets me up to... this is going to set me up so that at the very least, I'm going to reveal the next couple hidden cards for my opponent to take first. And I might instead just discard the blue building and force them to flip new cards for me. Yeah, that's what I do. So I think that's a reasonable play. You could also argue for taking the clay, but I don't know. Clay is not a massive need for me. So I get why I did that. Forcing my opponent to give me the initiative on these new cards. And I get the glass. So, okay, that gambit paid off for me. The only other gray resource card available in Age 1, I get. And that's very good because, if you'll notice, the Sphinx costs 2 glass. So glass, really good for me. My opponent, they're going to have to do something with the science card because, if you'll notice, we have both law and theology in this game. So, again, science is going to be really, really valuable. Although theology is not as important here since we have so many extra turns already. Law token's definitely the star of the show here. That's what the focus is going to be if you're going science. So my opponent has to do something with the science card. They could either buy it or they can discard it. They only get 2 coins from a discard. They might just buy it. They do neither of those things. Okay, well, I will take the free science. Thank you very much. This does reveal the free science card for them as well, which I fully expect them to take. And yes, they do. That's easily the only good move they had there. Okay. Now I have these crappy red cards. And I think what I'm going to do is just discard the one on the left because that sets me up to get new cards flipped for me. Yes. And they're going to flip me these cards, taking their measly 2-coin discard. Here, because of the law token, I have to buy the green card with the bowl. The bowl, as I mentioned, is one of the best green cards, too. I don't take the bowl. I take the blue instead. Okay. I feel like this is me kind of flexing my first player advantage a little too much. And just thinking, okay, I can win on VP. I can block... Like, okay, I'm going to win on VP, and I can block their science, so I'll go ahead and take the VP. I think that play was a big mistake in retrospect. The other thing is, also, if I were to take the bowl, it would flip this wood card for them, and I would also maybe flip this wood for them, so that would not be great, because I have a big need for wood. But I don't know, I still think that buying the green card would have been better for me here, I think, still. Just, law token's just such a huge looming presence in this game. And they get the green because, of course, they do. Now, I'm going to take because of how much wood both of us need, the better move here is clearly to take the yellow card instead of the free brown card for wood. And that's what I do. And they have to take this other wood, no other choice, and I'm going to get the free clay, which is perfect for me. All right. So that's pretty much what I need for the game as far as clay goes, for the most part. What do they do here? So they're going to flip for me because there's no need for them to burn a wonder yet. And I'm going to get... this is interesting. I think I just take the yellow card. Yeah, I do, because, it will still provide some benefit for me with clay, and also just denying my opponent any yellow cards is really good as far as setting you up to make money in the long run from discards. They take the stone, which is expected because they don't have any stone yet. Another play I could have made there would have been to just maybe discard this brown card for wood, let them take the yellow card for clay, and then I would be able to play the Piraeus and maybe buy the feather to put us on a more even footing with science. One way or another, I am definitely going to build a wonder here, and Piraeus is, I think, the choice because it gives me the gray resources that I need. Because this is the play that allows me to go first in Age 2. So this is what I call the double extra turn play, where I'm using this to get an extra turn for this, and then an extra turn at the start of Age 2. So I'm effectively getting 2 extra turns from building this wonder. And I get a nice card to start with, the Caravansary, which is a wild card brown resource. Even though all brown resources are cheap for me, this is still a good thing to deny them, and it will still make me money in the long run. So I go ahead and buy it. That's a little risky not to take the red card, though. An argument could have been made for buying the wall there instead. And they buy it for me. Okay. See, that might have been a mistake for me, actually. Now we have wood, and I think my choice here is... I think I'm just going to discard the wood. No, I buy it. I don't know about that. It's to drive up the price of the Great Library for them, but... I don't know about that. I don't know about that, man. Anyway, I'm definitely going to buy the red card because they're forcing all this military on me, so I have to take a 2 shield card when it's free is just no-brainer for me. They go ahead and take Customs House because of giving them cheap gray resources. Here, my play, I think, is just to discard this blue building so as to not reveal any new cards. No, oh, no, I see the play. Never mind. I see what we're doing here. Okay, I forgot about this. Good part. I missed this. So I decide to build the Hanging Gardens, and that way I can buy the this science card to block them from getting a progress token, and I can still potentially threaten a science win myself this way. What do they do here? They buy blue. What do? I discard that blue. I don't know if I should have bought that blue because it is a 5-pointer, which is a lot. But I also do need a lot of money right now, so maybe that was the right move. Because I can just buy this blue instead for free. And I'm definitely gonna buy this card for the gray resources, because now, even if my opponent builds the Circus Maximus to nuke my glass, I still have 2 wildcard gray resources, which is all you need for the rest of the game. Like, I'm loaded on gray. So yeah, in great shape with resources. And now they build Circus Maximus, as expected, because they want to try to threaten military now. I get this. What do I do with this? I think my move is this. I think I discard the Papyrus. Ew, what am I doing here? So my thinking was this. I could discard the Papyrus, they would buy the red card, and then I would discard the stone, and that creates the situation with the science cards, where they would have to either use it. Basically, they cannot get both the science cards. Now, they're in a situation where they could get both science cards. And that lets them threaten law. Actually, never mind. No, I see what I'm doing. Now I can use the extra... no, I'm not going to use the extra turn. What I could have done is I could have built the Sphinx and taken away the feather from them, because that denies them the law token win. Like, they cannot get a science win at this point unless they get the feather card. They are going to get it because, of course, they have to follow up on their law token and try to threaten science. What this does is it lets me buy this red card, and because we'll end up even on the military track, I'll still get to go first in age 3. Now, I am in an interesting position here because I've gotten these brown resource cards to jack up my opponent's resource prices. That's kind of what I was thinking, buying the 2 stone card there, I guess, but that still cannot have been the right play in retrospect. Anyway, I'm going to decide to go first. What do? I think the move is buy the Yuri, yeah, because it gives me coins, and money is always good. They get the yellow card for this. Okay, that's pretty mediocre for them. I'm going to take this yellow card because it's worth a good chunk for me. 3 points plus 6 coins, since I have 3 brown cards. Now for the other thing. They're going to discard this, yeah. So they need the money to use for their wonders and green cards. Or red cards, They're I think they're like thinking they could maybe still threaten a military win, but I'm going to cut that off right now. They're going to take the blue building, which I'm fine with. I think I'm just going to take the blue building on the right because I want to create a situation where I force them to use up their extra turn wonder for science. So yeah, I go ahead and buy the blue building. They buy the guild, which is good. That's going to be... Well, it's okay. I'm going to buy the red card. I have a ton of money at this point, and I can potentially kill them on military before they can get their sciences. And luckily, this doesn't flip a science for them, so that's good for me that I don't flip science for them. Now, as expected, they're going to use an extra turn and go for science card. What this does is it puts me into an awkward situation because now I have to use an extra turn. And because here's the thing, they can build the Appian Way. If I don't do something right now, they can build the Appian Way, take the science, and win the game, which will likely eliminate me from the tournament. So what I'm doing here, I have no choice but to do this. I have to build the Sphinx, and then I think my best move is just build the pyramids with this since it's free. And also it prevents them from building the library. Yes, exactly. Now, here's the problem. I still have a chance to lose this game. I have very much a chance to lose this game. Why? Because the opponent now can build the Appian Way on the blue building. They use the blue building, build the Appian Way. That reveals these 2 cards for them, which could potentially be science. And if they get the round symbol, it's game over for me. So I just have to sweat it now. Well, no, okay, they're gonna build that one instead, but it's the same thing. It makes it so they get the initiative and new cards flipped. They're gonna drag it out a little further, right? So now I just have to buy the blue and pray. And we did it, boys! So that's the right science card to see, because now they cannot get that last symbol. They get a progress token from this. They can take agriculture for points. But now I'm not scared because I'm just going to win the game on points. I might take the red card, maybe. No, okay, I take the blue building. I play it safe. Actually, that makes sense because the red card wasn't worth much for my opponent. So buying the blue was better there. And I buy the yellow because it's worth points. And yeah, I'm going to definitely win this on points easily. It was just a matter of, again, if I made it to the end, I won. That's what this game came down to. But, yeah, I don't know. I think in retrospect, I probably should have used my last extra turn wonder in Age 2 for I don't know, it's tough. I could have used my extra turn in age 2 to deny them that feather card so that they can't get the science win. The problem is they could buy the red card that was there at the end of age 2, and they could really threaten military on me. So I would have been in a dicey position still because they would have pushed me far on military, and I'd have no extra turns left for age 3 while they had, 2? So that's very dangerous as well. I think I might have ended up in the best spot here. The way I played this. I'm not sure. I don't know. This was tough. This ended up being a surprisingly tough game against a lower-rated opponent like that. All right. But we did it. We played our defense, dodged the science, win from them, and we're still alive in the tournament. Okay. Now it's time for Pandevonium. Okay, Pandevonium. All right. Now here's another player rated in the 300s. So this is this is like generally means like they're a good player. So they get first player here, and I'm expecting them to take the Piraeus because, as I mentioned, it's just it's a very strong wonder in general. It's the second best wonder. Here, I'm definitely taking the Sphinx, and I would normally take the Circus Maximus, but the issue is when your opponent has Piraeus, Circus Maximus becomes a lot less useful. Because nuking a gray card for them doesn't do as much when they have this Piraeus providing them resources anyway. That's the issue I have with this. So here I make a really interesting play, I think. Yes, I actually take the Lighthouse over another wonder for like the only time I ever do that when it's not Lighthouse or Pyramids. Okay, so I go first now, and I'm lucky to get the Temple of Artemis as my wonder, and I'm expecting them to get Appian Way and Zeus. Well, they could go either way with this. This is kind of interesting for them with the choice for the last wonder. Because the strategy and law tokens are not on the board, there is a very good chance the Great Library will provide them at least one of those. So Library might be better here. Okay, they take Zeus. So they're committing to what appears to be more of a VP-focused game plan, victory points, because they have both Circus Maximus and Zeus. They can really do a number on my resource economy. So that's something to watch for. What do they take as first card here? This is interesting. The yellow card looks most attractive, seemingly, but look, it's all the clay cards are there. So I might instead take the free wood, because especially for me personally, like wood's really valuable for the library. Yeah, see, they take the yellow card, okay. I think I'm going to take the wood here, because I'm guaranteed to get one of the clays, no matter what. Yes, they take the clay, and now I have to take the other clay, especially because they just flipped a blue card there. There was nothing else for me to do anyway, really, besides take the clay. That's the last clay card left in Age 1. Choose and use an age card. I'm expecting them to take the science because there is theology, and theology is always nice, even if you're only using it to benefit from one wonder. That's still a lot to get one extra turn out of a progress token. That's still a great return. Economy could also be really good depending on how we do with resources. What the economy token does is whenever your opponent pays money to cover resource costs on cards or wonders, you gain those coins directly from them. So this can get so good. This can really snowball if you get it earlier in the game. So that's something to watch for as well. Theology and economy are the main two tokens I have my eyes on here. So yeah, they take the science as expected. Here, I might just buy the blue card because I don't have a yellow yet, so discarding would not be worth much. And I do, in fact, buy the blue. Okay. They would discard the red card all the way on the right, which makes sense because now I have to flip something for them. I'm going to do this. Discard on the right side. See what comes up. And there's clay. I mean, not clay, stone. So I'm going to take the yellow card for stone, of course. And they're going to take papyrus, I imagine. Yeah. And I think I might actually buy this blue since it only costs 1 for me. And it's free for them. So it's good for both of us. As far as points go. Because of the free chain that you get from this is really strong. They're going to take the wood. Yes, because they don't have any wood yet. So they definitely need that. And I have to just discard this. I have no other play to make. Since you don't want to buy reds in age 1. They're going to get the free science. As expected. Here I think I might buy this science. Because... yeah, okay, I see why I did this. I want to still be in the game somewhere, like have some chance to get a progress token here. And that turned out to be my last chance for that. So now this is the only symbol I can match in age 2 to get a token. Unfortunately, they get a great flip here with the glass, which of course they're going to take. I have to discard this. Luckily, they do not have the money to build an extra turn wonder, so I am going to go first. In age 2. And of course I'm going to buy the yellow card for wood because wood is a huge need for me with having library. Here I think my move is, I mean, papyrus is great for me, but I think I want to just get the free money first. And they opt to build one of their wonders to do something with that card. Very interesting that they are trying to deny me this. I don't think that's worth using up an extra turn, personally. I tend not to like using my extra turns for just resource plays. As I mentioned, me doing that was one of the things that bit me in the ass back in the first game. Okay, so here... we have a red card that's free for them. So I think something has to be done about that. And I think the play for me is this. I think I see a clear play for me in this situation. Build the Temple of Artemis, because that gives me a lot of money using this red card, and then buy the wheel symbol. Because this lets me gain a progress token, and I'm going to take theology from that, I would imagine. Yeah, theology's got to be the pit. And this has a double value for me. This is going to earn me theology, and it will also cut them off from any chance of a science win, which is really valuable right now, with how much they were making a push for science earlier. So yes, even though it cost me a whole lot of money to build the wonder and buy the wheel card, it was worth it for me. I'm almost positive. Not almost, I am positive. That's definitely worth it for me. Because now we can just discard the... actually, do we discard the bowl? No, we don't need. The bowl's useless, right? Yeah, the bowl card is kind of useless for my opponent now since they don't have the science win. I think at this point I have to buy this yellow. Even though it's, again, absurdly expensive for me, it costs 6. It's going to save me a lot more than 6 in the long run because I have no gray resources. So now what do I do with this? Oh, I see, right, because I can build the lighthouse, and deny the feather. Yeah, because I need money. I can get money by discarding the feather card, so that cuts them off from a symbol. So now they have really no more use for science in this age. So they're likely going to either maybe build a wonder or just discard. Okay, they just discard. And that's good. This is actually great for me, because now I get to buy the 2 clay. So I had my clay nuked by the statue of Zeus. I get that clay back and more. So I'm in great shape now with brown resources. And I decide to build the library because I want to see what progress token comes up. And I go for agriculture because I need the shot of money now. And this lets me take away the other progress token, building a wonder in the process. So now I'm doing the kind of play where I just rush wonders. And I think I discard that, which I'm not sure about because it opens up the red card for them. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I'm now in a very scary situation with regard to military because I've used up all my wonders and my opponent still has an extra turn for age 3. Anyway, I definitely buy the glass because it's a missing resource for me. And my opponent is not likely to build Circus Maximus. Since I built all 4 of my wonders, they can only build 1, and they would almost certainly rather get the extra turn than destroying my glass. So I'm just discarding, trying to get my money back up for H3. I'm going to go first in H3. What do we do here? I'm going to go first, and I'm going to buy the blue building. Why do I buy the blue building on the left instead of the one on the right? This is worth 6 points. This is worth 7. Why not take the 7 one? Because look at the back of the card here. When the back of the card is a darker purple, that means it's a guild. So, i.e., not a military card, right? Whereas if I were to flip this, this lighter purple one here could potentially be military, which would be disaster for me. Now, one other thing to think of here. I might have made a mistake in this game. I think in retrospect, I maybe should have chosen to let Pandevonium go first here instead. And the reason I say that is whenever they build their extra turn, that's going to create that's going to give me the initiative for any new cards that are flipped for the rest of the age. So I could be in trouble here. Anyway, regardless, the best move for me here is clearly buy the blue. They buy that blue there. I'm going to take the Moneylenders Guild. Because again, as I mentioned, Moneylenders Guild has easily the greatest potential of any point-scoring card in the game. Now, they're going to want to use an extra turn. And they're really going to want to push me on military. So this is a big disaster for me. Like, I'm in huge danger of losing the game now. I cannot take the yellow guild on the left because that reveals a red card, and if they get that, they kill me on military. They win. So I have to just do something with the green card. And my move is, since I have no money left, I'm going to discard the green, especially since I have Moneylenders Guild. So now I'm taking a risk because if a red card were to be flipped there, I could have lost. But luckily, we don't get a red. And actually, never mind. Never mind the situation here. I was wrong about earlier. So, by me going first and my opponent using the extra turn, I am actually going to get the... Okay, my opponent, with the situation with me going first and my opponent taking an extra turn, they get the first reveal of any new cards flipped in the early part of the age, but I get the first reveal in the later part of the age. And the later part of the age is much more important. Okay, so I see why I went first now. So that was the right move for me. Yeah. I definitely made a mistake earlier in the game just casually letting my opponent have that red card toward the end of age 2, though. That put me in this really bad spot here where I could have lost the game. So that was a huge mistake for me. Anyway, I'm taking the arena because I need the money from having built those wonders. Opponent takes that. So now I have no choice but to take the military card that is a forced move for me or else I lose. And this is going to get them 2 strong guilds. So this is an interesting situation where maybe they could come back on VP. Because they have the yellow guild and the brown plus gray guild. And actually, never mind. I was wrong. Okay, no. I got it wrong earlier, but it was actually just the middle part. So let's clarify. It was really just the middle part of the age where I could get new cards revealed, but that part ended up being crucial for me to avoid losing on military. I will flip these last 3 unrevealed cards. I'm going to flip them for my opponent. So that can reveal red, but I have enough to where I can survive any one red card right now. They're going to take that. I'm going to take this for money. And very lucky that we don't get a red card revealed. Because I also could have lost the game on that. Specifically, if a red card were revealed in this right position, I would have had no way to win because I have no extra turns left. They could have taken this. I would have to take this. They would take that. I take this, and then they get flipped the final red, and I die. So we get lucky here. We're really lucky this game to dodge the bullet with the reds. Because look at what happens here. Look what happens here, right? That's a red. And now what's interesting is, because I'm guaranteed to get this last red flip to me, I actually choose to ignore this other red card so that I can take the progress token from science, because I can get both of these round symbols. And I discard because, again, Moneylenders Guild. They obviously buy the red because it's worth 5 points for them, and I get the progress token for 7 points to close the game. So once again, I should be winning on VP here. Yep. So you may notice in a lot of these games that my opponents end up going for the alternate win conditions while I'm going for points. So this is something I learned from studying the top French players in Seven Wonders Duel. There's a lot of them who rank really high in arena, in board game arenas, arena mode in any given season. That's like their ranked match. There's a lot of French players who do well there, and they tend to play a very victory point heavy style. Essentially, what I'm doing there is what I learned from them, of how to score points while doing enough on defense to prevent the science and military wins. And that's what I was going for here, but I do think in this game I played a little too fast and loose with the military part. I should have been more careful in not letting them have so much easy red. Because yeah, that could have easily cost me the game here. I was lucky to win this one, honestly. All right. Next game against BBKosta. So this here is my final game in the group stage. So I lost my first game and won all my others so far. So I realize here that if I win this, I qualify out of the group. So this game, actually, since these are like we're the two highest rated players in this group. So how it ended up is this was the match to decide who makes top 8 out of this group between us two. And you can see here, Costa is the first player we've seen who is higher rated than me. So this will be very interesting. I do get first player, which is nice. And there's only one wonder with an extra turn, the Sphinx, so of course that's what I'm going to grab. So very good situation for me to start. My opponent is going to take not the pyramids. Exactly. Now what do they get here? Extra turn wonders, so I'm pretty sure they go with the Hanging Gardens, because again, I do think it's a bit better than Appian Way, simply because it's cheaper on resources. Yes. I am definitely taking Appian Way, and also because the law token's in the game, I'm going to go with the Mausoleum over the library. The library is really only going to be that great if you get the strategy token from it. And so to explain, in the base game, there are 10 total progress tokens. 5 of them are always on this board on the right. So with the Great Library, you reveal 3 of the 5 remaining ones and get to pick one of those. So essentially what that means is in this game, with the library, you only have a 1 in 5 chance. No, that's not right. Is it right? I don't remember the exact odds on it. I'm actually not great with math, to be honest, but it's not 1 in 5 for sure. It's more than that, but it is it is a lower chance for the strategy token to appear, is my point. So I think Mausoleum is ultimately more valuable because of what it does with science, where it either lets you discard a science card early to then grab later with the Mausoleum, or it forces your opponent to buy science when they wouldn't want to, just to prevent you from using the Mausoleum to grab it. So, again, Law Token is a major buff for Mausoleum. That's why I went with that here. So I go first. Choices here. The glass is compelling because I have 2 wonders that each cost 2 glass, and they're 2 of my good ones too. But there's also the fact that our wonders are, again, extremely heavy on clay. So I think I'm ultimately going to take the yellow card here for the clay. Yep. Because we both need a lot of clay. So I think that makes sense. They take, so BBKosta. Costa takes glass, which also makes sense. That is clearly the other best choice on the board here. Now for me. I think what I want to do is to maintain my first player advantage, I'm going to discard this red card here, because that does not reveal anything new, and it will force Costa to flip new cards for me. No, I instead go for the stone, because my wonders are also pretty stone heavy. And luckily, and I get pretty lucky with that play actually, because I flip a card that's not good for my opponent at all. I got lucky there. I'm not sure if taking the stone there was the best play, but it gets the best result in this case. And they take the stone because, again, there is more pressure on them to take stone now. I take the free wood because, duh. I really need wood, especially with my opponent having a Statue of Zeus. Grabbing all the brown I can has value. They discard the blue so as to avoid flipping new cards. I think I'm just going to discard the red here. Oh no, I discard the blue. I guess because it would theoretically be better for my opponent to buy the blue card than the red card, so that's why I discard the blue. Anyway, they get a free science card, so that's concerning with Law, but they do give me Papyrus. And since they don't have Circus Maximus, I'm guaranteed to keep this Papyrus for the rest of the game. So that's nice. This is interesting. I think the move for me, do I take the yellow card for stone, or do I do something with the blue? Oh, I do something with the blue. And I think I'm maybe not sure about that in retrospect. I think my thinking here is maybe like they will desperately want the stone, but they don't. So instead, I'm just going to buy the yellow card instead to buff my discards, and also because it does still help me with stone. Now they're going to get more science. And as I mentioned before, and this is really, oh god, this is just a nightmare for me now, because no matter what I do, actually, no, wait, I do have a way out of this. What I could do here is I could use the bowl card to build the Appian Way and use the extra turn and then buy this free science card to prevent Costa from getting 3 science symbols in age 1. Yes. Oh, no, I do. Actually, no, wait. I do it the other way around. I do it the other way around because the bowl is better for me getting a token in age 2. I might have been better off doing the other way around, though. Not sure. Anyway, I discard, and the good thing is taking the money is the fact that the Appian Way takes money away from them means they cannot build the extra turn wonder. So now I get to go first in age 2, which is very valuable at this stage, especially with Law Token involved. Getting to go first becomes extra important when science is a looming threat. I'm going to go first. And I think I'm going to discard the blue building because that would be an okay card for my opponent. Whereas this red card is just bad all around. 3 coins for only 1 point of damage. Ugh. We flip another blue card. Opponent discards that. I am definitely going to take the Caravansary because I need the wildcard resource. This is something that Statue of Zeus cannot take away. So I need this to protect my wood. They get red, though. That's not great. And, of course, they're going to take the military. Now, we do buy the wood. And I think this is to prepare for Zeus. And also just drive up the cost of their wonders on the wood. They opt to actually pay 3. pay 3 coins for the red card. So here, stone is not really important for me, but I don't want to just casually reveal the blue card. I mean the red card. I don't want to casually reveal the red card for them to take and threaten me on military, but I might have no other choice here. No, instead I decide to do this and let them take the science card. So this is dangerous because now they have 3 symbols, which is, as I mentioned, 3 different science symbols is the magic number with the law token in the game. I will definitely take this. Okay, so what this does is the following. I see a move here. I think I see why I did this. Because the opponent, Costa, they clearly wanted to take that compass symbol. They need it for the science threat. However, that allows me to make this move. I can build my Sphinx and then grab the bowl to then get theology. So now this will give me the power of extra turns. And I can take the... no, I discard... I see. Costa discards the red, right? Because Costa went. Okay. Now the question is, I think the play here is to discard the feather. The feather symbol. Yes. Because my opponent can't get it back, so it just denies them a progress token. And I'm definitely going to take this yellow card since it doesn't reveal anything new and I need the money. We both really need the money. Now we get this situation. I think what to do here, I see the play. What I'm going to do is I think probably use... Oh no, do I? This is a little tricky. It's tempting to buy the glass because I don't have glass at all. And it is a valuable resource for me. That being said, there is a case to be made for using the glass to build the pyramids and taking the red card. Especially since my opponent has these, Colossus and Statue of Zeus, these wonders that deal military damage. That might be the better play right now. Okay, no, I do this instead. But it still ends up being effectively like the same thing for me. Actually, no, wait, I see what I'm going to do. I instead do the other way around, where I use the extra turn, but I buy the clay in order to drive up my opponent's clay prices on Colossus. So I'm like trying to dominate the brown resources here. I'm seeing that as like one of my ways to win. Is my opponent is trying to do the dual threat with science and military, and I think that hurting them on the resources in this fashion is a way that we can try to prevent that. Just making things too expensive for them. Make it add up for them over time. I think we have to take the red here. We don't. Okay. I think that might have been a mistake. I think my better play here instead would have been to buy the red card, since I think military is the much bigger danger to me than science at this point. I was more focused on the science threat at the time, but I think really this might have been better. They're, of course, going to buy this because look at the situation now. So they have 3 more points of damage they can deal on me from wonders, and that puts them 1 away from winning. Now, I do have the mausoleum. Actually, I wonder maybe that was part of my consideration, the fact that I have the mausoleum. So I can use the mausoleum to grab the wall. So I can get some military that way. I think that was my thinking there. In retrospect, it was probably still wrong, though. I think I should have just maybe let them have the law token. Or I could have built the mausoleum to deny both from my opponent. That was a consideration to end H2. Maybe that would have been best. Tricky spot here. And I definitely did not make the best decision. I'm pretty sure of that. Because, as I said, military is really dangerous right now. Anyway, I am going to go first because I have to deny the science card. since my opponent still has the chance of a science win. Yes. I decide to buy the science instead of discarding it because I have a lot of money. So I could potentially gain a progress token of use if I get the other matching symbol here. Opponent discards the yellow card because that's worth no money for them. And this is beautiful. This is what I wanted to see. I get the perfect flip here. 3 shields for free. I could not have asked for a better card than that. That's exactly what I needed right now. Opponent's discarding blues. Yeah, so Costa, even though that 7-point blue building, it only costs 1 coin for Costa, but they're discarding it because Costa realizes they're not going to beat me on victory points anyway, and they're just fully committing to this dual threat approach, which I think is the correct move in their position. So now I see what the situation. I just have to survive until the end of the game. That's my goal right now. I'm going to take the guild because that's worth a bunch of points. And now Costa decides to use the extra turn to go for a red card. And I think that's a good decision because now they can, again, pressure me with other wonders. However, I do still have that mausoleum in the back. But I don't need to use it just yet, I think. I think for now, I would just maybe want to take this yellow card because I still need money. Yes. Because the mausoleum is expensive for me, because I only have 1 gray resource card. This flips a science card for them, but the issue is they have no more extra turns left to build. I do have an extra turn left to build. So in Costa's situation, here's the problem. They would need to buy all 3 of the remaining science cards to win the game because they would need these. You would need the pointy symbol and the round symbol, and they would also need 1 more matching card to get the law token. There's only 3 science cards theoretically left in the game since I took 1 of them in this age. And that last one is not even guaranteed to show up. There's a couple cards that do not get shuffled into the deck for each age. It's random. So they might not even have that last science card available. So for them, given how expensive the science is, I think their best move at this point is to just abandon ship on science and just fully commit to military. But they buy it. I honestly think that's a mistake for them. Because now that lets me buy this red card, which I desperately need. They discard the blue building, which makes sense. They want to deny me points. The move for me, I think now this is the time for me to buy the mausoleum. Build the mausoleum. I would use the red card, build the mausoleum, and then that way I can get my initiative back for these last cards. I'll get the first flip of all these 3 remaining hidden cards here. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. The question is, which card do you take the blue card or the red card? And I think probably the red card is still better. I take the blue, but that's a mistake in my opinion. In retrospect, I should have taken the walls. The reason you want the wall is I think I'm going to win on VP anyway, and it's more in my interest to leave myself completely safe on military. Anyway, I take this guild because it's 5 points and 5 coins, so that's a really good scoring card. And they just have to, flip stuff for me. Okay, so this is the first time we've seen this card, actually, the Builder's Guild. This is the second best point scoring card. This is almost always going to be worth 8 points at the end of the game because it's worth 2 points for each wonder that the player with the most wonders has built. So this is going to almost always be worth 8 points. And as you saw, the best blue buildings are worth 7. So yeah, easy buy for me here. And yeah, this is just going to be game over. Costa's dream is dead at this point. Especially because that last remaining science card does not flip for them. because that would have forced me to block them on science, but even then that still wouldn't matter in points. I'm just so far ahead in points, it's ridiculous. Anyway, the move for me is just take the free blue building here. They have to flip me this. And they're just going to build a wonder because not really much better for them to do. And they get nothing useful out of the token, so that's fine for me. I mean, not that it matters. This is just game over anyway. Yeah, so yeah. I think they maybe just clung to the science dream a little too long. Costa did in this game. But you can see there how me driving up the cost of their resources really impacted the game because they ended up never building the statue of Zeus. So I kept my brown cards all the way through the game. And that leads to a massive VP win here. So yeah, once again, me on points dealing with a dual threat. So, very pleased with how I played this one mostly. I think we both kind of let each other get too many chances at military in retrospect. But other than that, good game, good game. Now, what this means is I have won all of my games in the group after losing my very first game of the entire tournament, remember. So this means I make it to top 8, baby. So I make it out of the group stage, and now the top 8 go into a single elimination bracket to close out the tournament. So here is my first game from that single elimination bracket. First game in top 8. It's going to be me against SonnyBB. So again, we're dealing with the higher rated player here, a player rated, around 400. So that means like, they're typically like a very good player, right? So yeah, and Sonny gets first player too. So here's the thing though. They get first player, but I'm guaranteed to get 2 extra turn wonders here. So that is a nice way to balance things out a little bit. I'm not too scared yet. Sonny is going to take the Piraeus, as I expect. Again, really, really super strong wonder. And I'm going to get the other 2 extra turns. And I get Hanging Garden, so now I get 3 extra turns, and they only get 1. So now this really makes up for the first player advantage. Now I'm liking my situation here, actually. And they take the Lighthouse, which I would not do, but a lot of players do in this kind of situation. As I said, even some of the best players, they like the Lighthouse more than I do. They like that flexibility and economy it provides when going for a VP win. And they take Library, which I did expect. The interesting thing is this. Actually, Library might be kind of weak in this game because the 3 broken tokens are already on the board. Law, Strategy, Theology. So the Library is not going to pull any of those. So Library is a lot weaker here than it normally is. I might have taken Circus Maximus over Library in their shoes, perhaps. Not positive on that, but probably. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a yellow card, the free money card. That's always great. Free clay is really nice. Papyrus is the clear standout alongside the yellow card, I think. I think Sonny might take the yellow card first. Sonny goes for neither of those. They go for stone, the stone that costs 1. Okay, I'm not complaining about that. I think I'm going to take the yellow here because I want to buff my discards. They're just focusing on brown here, which is really interesting. Here, I think maybe I take Papyrus. Oh no, I take they seem to be ignoring the Papyrus, so I go ahead and just go for the wood. I see why I did that, because their wonders are so heavy on wood, I want to deny them that card. Now they finally take the Papyrus, and now I have to do something with the Workshop, this science card. It's free for them, and the law token's in the game, so this is really important. I think I just discard it. Oh no, I actually buy it. So I see why. I buy it because I want to keep up the threat of the law token win myself. But they get probably a better science card in return, so not the greatest exchange for me. Here I think I just have to discard the blue building since it's free for them. flip new cards and I get lucky with the flip. There's nothing good there for them. I discard this because I'm guaranteed to get one of those yellow cards. And I get the one on clay, which I'm fine with. I do desperately need clay still. And they can't afford the clay. I gotta discard this, and they take the glass now for sure. And now this creates another more expensive science card for me, but I will still take it because, again, I can put myself in position to threaten science win. That's why I'm buying these science cards. That's usually what you want to do with law token involved. Here, the move for me is this. I have to take the stone because that's the last stone card left in Age 1, and I didn't get either of the other ones. So, yeah, desperate need for me. And because they can't build the Piraeus, I get to go first in Age 2. Very strong position with how much money I have. I'm in great shape with brown resources. I have a ton of money, and I go first. So I'm going to go first, and I'm definitely taking the yellow card. Free money again. Always love it. Customs House. They probably take that. That would be a great card for me, but they take it away. Here, I think I buy it, yeah, because that ultimately could be better for me than the wild card gray resource on the left. Yeah, because now I'm just going to take red. This red card, it gives you a free chain in Age 3, so that's another thing that makes it extra good. Unfortunately, they get a free red card and they get to counter me back. This will give me the Caravansary, which I'll definitely take. Get me an extra stone, essentially. It'll also save me little bits of money here and there, using the wildcard resource for other things. So yeah, great card still. What do? They can't use their extra turn. They discard the glass, which I think is reasonable. Here, I have a clear move. I think the move for me is this. I think I'm going to... What I would do in this situation is build the Appian Way. Since they're lower on money, this would hurt them to take 3 money away from them right now. And then build this science card so I can get the theology token. Because you really want to deny... Because here, with my opponent only having the one extra turn, I don't want them getting a hold of theology. That would be massive for their game with how cheap their wonders are. So yes, have to deny theology here. For sure. I don't deny theology. Okay, this is an interesting decision. I kind of get it because... Here's the thing. I kind of get this because strategy is a lot more useful for me personally than theology is. Because I already have 3 wonders that give an extra turn, I may very well end up not getting any use out of theology at all. Since I tend to prefer to wait and build my wonders, I don't usually like to rush all my wonders in Age 2. So I might end up only being able to build 3 of my 4. Thus, I may just end up never using theology. That being said, I think it still might have been better in this case just to take it away from Sonny. Because Sonny, that's just such a massive, massive token for them. Huge for their game. Now, what Sonny's going to do in this situation is... I think they kind of have to use their extra turn for Piraeus. They're going to have to use this to build Piraeus and then deny me the wheel symbol so that I can't take theology. They let me have it instead. That's interesting. And I definitely take theology now. Okay. We end up with the same result, effectively. And now the nice thing about this, too, is I have denied Sonny's chance at a science win because I have monopolized 2 of the 4 symbols. Sonny decides, and so Sonny builds the lighthouse, which I think makes sense for them. They want to still get some benefit from the extra economy provided by the lighthouse. And they definitely have to take the feather symbol away from me, because if I were to get that green card, all of a sudden, I would be able to threaten a science win. So they have to take that away. What do you want to do here? Probably just discard, because, yeah, I can't really, buying extra cards just to drive up resource prices for my opponent is useless at this point. So yeah, discard instead. They're buying the blue building. So what's interesting is, while we've been focused on this science stuff, they have been really pushing the victory points. So I think what to do here is buy the blue card on the left, the red card on the left. Because I have the strategy token buff, that becomes a much, much stronger card for me. So here's what I did. This is interesting. We're obviously going to do something with the bull symbol. Question is, do we build the wonder with it and then take red card? Or do we buy the bull ourselves? What's interesting here is we could just buy the bull ourselves and whatever happens after that is good. Because if they buy the red card, then we go first in H3. If they discard the red, then we get to take points. And because we still have these extra turns, like, we still have a very real chance to win on victory points, even with their early lead. And that's the move we make, is we buy the bull so that way we can put the law token win into play. Wow. And this is just a dream run out for me. Like, already, what I can see here is this. Already, I've won the game. Based on this layout here, I've won. There's nothing they can do to stop me. I am Kenshiro. SonnyBB is already dead. And the reason for that is, because I go first, I get to buy this science card. They get to do something here. And here's the problem. No matter what they do, they cannot use an extra turn to deny me one of these science cards. But what I can do is, no matter what they do, I can use 2 extra turns in a row to then get one of the pointy symbol cards. Specifically, the one on the right here. So Sonny buys the red, which makes sense. They want to push me on. And now here's the play. Watch what happens here. I can use my 2 remaining extra turns to buy this card, the pointy symbol card on the right. They will then use an extra turn, but the problem is they can only block one of the science cards. I will get the other one, and I will win the game. That's why I said when I saw this run out, that was checkmate right there for me. But I'm actually not even going to build the extra turn. I'm going to instead just get the guild for some extra money. But now it's even better. Now what I do instead is I only need to use one of the extra turns. And I buy pointy symbol thing, and same situation though. No matter what, I win now. Because now both of these cards will give me the law token. So you see what I did there earlier in the game, how me deciding to buy that last science card at the end of Age 2 really put me in so much more powerful of a position here. Because it gave me the possibility to threaten to win from multiple angles. Because of the strategy token, I'm always a threat to win on military. And now this gave me science potential along with that. And I was actually doing okay on victory points even besides those other things. So I had a lot of outs here. I felt very good about how I played this one. All right, so that's the first round of top 8 over. And now we are in the semifinals. And who do we play against in the semifinals? We're up against Game King 51. Game King. So Game King is also going to be, pretty, fairly highly rated player. What do we do here? Well, what we do is this. we enjoy, once again, the advantage in getting more extra turn wonders. Game King is going to take Artemis, I bet. Yep. And I'm going to get Gardens and Sphinx. Easy peasy. And I get Appian Way, so once again, we're in the same situation. My opponent has first player advantage, but I have 3 extra turns to their 1. So same deal as the last game. Naturally, I'm feeling pretty good about this as well. And they took the Lighthouse, which again, I'm not a fan of the Lighthouse, but you know what? I don't mind that they took it here. I can kind of understand it from their perspective, but they let me have Circus Maximus, which protects my gray resources. It also gives me a potential military attack later in the game. So what we see here is Theology and Law are again present. So actually, again, kind of a similar setup to the last game. Game King goes first. And you can see here, we have all of the free brown cards in play. So it's just a matter of which one you need more, and I bet they're going to take wood. Yes. Because they have the Great Library, wood is their biggest need. With me, I think stone is probably my biggest need. Stone or clay are kind of equal. I end up going with the clay, though. I do think that clay is... So here's another thing to talk about. The resources tend to serve different purposes in the game. The brown resources. I mean, wood is kind of an all-around resource. It's in a lot of things, but wood is especially prominent in science cards. So wood is kind of the science resource. Clay is kind of the military resource. Clay is used most often in military cards, and then stone is used most often in the blue buildings. And I guess the guilds, like stone is kind of like the victory point resource. You can think of it that way. This is somewhat oversimplifying, but that's a way to think about it. And my thought is in this game, I don't really think this is a game that's likely to come down to victory points necessarily because of Law Token being present. So I would rather have the clay than the stone to present more of a military threat. I think that was my reasoning for taking clay here. Anyway, they naturally take the stone because that's obvious, duh. And now, here. I think I buy the blue card on the left, or just discard. Ooh, so I can see already that I've committed to the idea that I'm not winning this game on points. And that's why I'm just discarding blue buildings even when they're free and I only gain 2 coins from the discard. So I flip a science card for them, which is unfortunate. They're, of course, going to get that because Law Token. And also Theology is amazing for them. Now, here. This is weird. I don't understand why I discarded the other blue card and bought this one. I'm not sure. I don't know if I was just maybe not thinking that much at this stage. Anyway, I flipped them the yellow card for clay, which is great for them, of course. I get the other yellow card, obviously, and now they have to flip something for me. I am going to take the clay here, which is interesting. I thought maybe I would take the wood, but no, I go for that. Now, because of my opponent having Statue of Zeus, I would take the stone here, because now stone is safe from an attack by Zeus. So now clay, because I'm double stacked on clay, and stone, because I have the yellow card for stone, those 2 resources are safe from an attack on Zeus. Wood is my vulnerability now. Anyway, I expect Game King to take the clay, the glass, and they do. And I have to take the science card. That's just a no-brainer. Again, Law Token creates so many threats. An opponent, Game King decides to use their 1 extra turn to get this green card. Because now they want chances at Theology in Age 2, and they want chance for maybe a science win. What's my move at this point? I think the move here is very obvious. I think I build the Appian Way, and I buy the yellow card for wood. And this is for a couple reasons. One, because I desperately need... That yellow card for wood is just amazing for me. It means now that Zeus barely does anything to me in terms of attacking my resources. The other factor is it will allow me to go first in Age 2 if I use an extra turn. And it's better to use it now so I can get the wood. And that's exactly what I do. Opponent does get the Papyrus, which is annoying. That's a fantastic card. Now here, I gotta think. I think with my need for money at this point, I discard. No, I don't know. I'm not sure about that play. I understand it. I'm not positive about it, though. I understand it because I still want to be in the hunt for a potential science win myself if I can get the law token. I'm pretty sure that's why I did that. But in retrospect, if I were to play that now, I might have just discarded that science card at the end instead, because I really need money. Now here, I am clearly going to go first, and my move is to discard the blue building on the left because it's 5 points and it's free for my opponent. And that's exactly what I do. They get this symbol, which is annoying, because now they're in potential science win territory, and I have to do something about the wheel, which means just discard. I'm forced to discard the wheel here, because they would get theology if they were to grab that, and theology, like, I feel like at this point, if they get theology token, I just lose the game, because I'm really struggling on the gray resources right now. It's a huge problem. Here, I see what I'm doing. So I've already decided I think I'm just going to commit to military this game, and so I'm willing to spend 5 coins for that red card, because 2 shields is a lot. So now they're going to build a library for free to try to fish for a good token. And to my dismay, they get strategy. So that's exactly what they needed. They could not have dreamed of a better token in that situation. Because now, this gives them the ability to play defense against my military attack, which was how I was hoping to win this game. What do I do now? What do I do now? I think I discard the blue building in the middle here because it doesn't flip anything new. And I've already decided I'm not going to win on points. I'm just going to go for military. Now, here's the thing. My opponent here, they have now built all of their wonders, and this is really nice for me in a way, because now here's the deal. I get to take a token, and theology is not so useful for me at this stage, since, again, I already have 2 more wonders that give extra turns. So instead, the move I would want to make here is probably to take architecture. Because what this does is it allows you to remove any 2 resources from the cost of your wonder. So it makes wonders way, way cheaper. That, I think, will be what I do here. I take theology. I don't know about this. I really don't know about this play. I really think that architecture would have been better. I'm not sure about that play, looking back. I guess my thinking there was it would allow me to use Circus Maximus. I could use that for both an extra turn and a small military attack, and I might need that to win. I guess that was my thinking there. Now here, I'm in a very lucky spot because my opponent cannot afford this red card on the right, so I get to buy the better red card on the left. And now they just have to discard that. They cannot let me have red at this point, because I've clearly signaled to them that my whole game is built around the military. Which is a really weird thing to do against the player with the strategy token. Here, this spot is interesting because you could argue for maybe using one of your extra turns here. But I'm not so sure about that. Because there's a decent chance that what I'm afraid of is there's one last red card worth 2 shields, and I think there's a decent chance that that's not left. So I think I just have to take the chance. Unfortunately, it is there, and of course they're going to buy it. Womp womp. I take that. Now, I think that was a mistake. I think what I should have done was discarded the Caravansary, perhaps, and then let them reveal the... No. I think I kind of see what we're going for here. I think what I have to do now is use the extra turn. Yes. Use the extra turn on the military card, then buy the clay, and this allows me to go first in H3 because we're even on military right now. And I get a perfect draw, getting this. So I get the 3 shield military card, get back up in there, that track. Now here, I'm going to buy... I buy the yellow card, but in retrospect, again, I think I should have just... Well, no, wait, let's go back on this. Let me think about this. I think I had this idea in my head that maybe I could still win on VP because I have an extra turn left to use and my opponent doesn't. That does count for a lot when it comes to points. So I thought, so maybe I'm thinking I still have a chance on points here. But in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done that. Anyway, I get really lucky. I get another red card flip for me here. Now, this here is where it gets interesting. The thing to think about is this. Game King also has potential to win with the Law token because they have 3 symbols at the moment. So that's a possibility to watch out for. That was a little sneaky there. Now, they're going to buy the arena because, yeah, money, and they want to deny me that money. Here I'm just going to discard the middle blue building because I need money. And I don't want to flip a new card for them. And now, this guarantees that I win the game. Although first I'm going to discard another blue. Because by me discarding the blue, it forces them to flip me one of these and I can just take the initiative. At this point, because I can see that there's enough military left for me to win, because there's 4 shields I can take from the 2 cards showing, and 4 shields is exactly what I need. So at this point, all I have to do is just deny science. I don't care about points. So I'm going to discard the green card so as to deny them a potential science win. That was my thinking here, since I don't have to worry about points anymore. Points don't matter. And guess what? I deny another science card, so now they can't win on science at all. They needed to get 3 of the remaining science cards, and I took away 2 of them. And now they have to do this. I just take the red, and I can use an extra turn to guarantee I get the last red and win. However, however, that's exactly what I did. I just use the Circus Maximus for a little extra surplus damage. And yeah. So, not gonna lie, this game was some mad lad shit for me. Like, normally when your opponent has the strategy token, you're not gonna think, okay, I'm going to beat them on military. And I'm just gonna screw everything else and go all in on the red and win that way. But I did, and I actually pulled it off. And I think the reason it was justifiable in this case was the imbalance in the extra turns. The fact that I would get 3 extra turns and my opponent had already used up their 1 earlier on. I think that's why it was okay for me to plan for this. And also keep in mind, we did have that one situation near the end of H2 where I got slightly unlucky revealing that 2 shield card for them to take. If that card's not in the game, then it just gets extra easy for me to win on the military front. So, yeah, really unusual kind of strategy on my part here, but again, I do think it was the way to go because I was getting bodied on the gray resources, and that's a big deal for points, especially if you don't have glass. If you don't have glass, like glass is the resource that comes up more often in the point scoring cards compared to papyrus. So I was really on the back foot when it came to VP. So yeah, surprisingly tough spot for me here, but I pulled it off, man. And with that, I make it to the grand finals of the tournament. And I'm going to go up against Legendario 123. Now, this game. This is what we've been building to this whole time, folks. So, Legendario, as you can see, is a player rated 600. That is that's pretty godlike territory right there. And they also get to go first. Joy. So they're going to take Piraeus for sure. I'm taking Appian Way. And also, because both strategy and law tokens are in the game, I'm definitely taking Mausoleum, since Mausoleum can do a lot of work with either of those tokens. And now for my going first, unfortunately, there's no extra turn wonder for me to take. I would have liked to see that. This is just about as weak a set of wonders as you can get to close this out. I decide to go... Now, this is interesting. You could go for Circus Maximus to protect your own gray resources, but Circus Maximus is, again, as I mentioned, because my opponent has Piraeus, Circus is not going to do a lot of damage to them in this game, because they'll always have that wildcard gray resource to fall back on that I can't get rid of. So instead, I decided to take Colossus as the choice here, because my thinking was also, if we get strategy token and this turns into a military game, the extra shield on Colossus can be really important. The extra point of damage on Colossus compared to Circus. And they, of course, take the other two and leave me with Pyramids, as always expected. They go first, and this is tough because they will likely get the glass, which is a great card here. Oh no, they take... Oh, I see what they're doing here. They take the science card first because what this does is it kind of forces me to take the other science card on the board, and then they'll still get their glass anyway. Which is exactly what's going to happen here, I bet. Yeah, it's way too risky to just casually let them have these science cards, especially the Bowl and the Feather, since those give you a free chain to the Bowl and Feather cards in H2. And I get a great flip with the yellow card. Free money, always nice. And opponent, Legendario now has to flip me something good. And that's not good for me. I think I'm going to discard the one in the middle, yes. Discard the blue building in the middle, because now this... basically, I'm trying to set up a situation. I'm trying to manipulate the card row to where I might get some new cards revealed for me first. Anyway, I'm obviously taking the free wood here. That's just duh. I'm on the lookout for clay, though, because look again, my wonders are really clay heavy. As clay heavy as you can get, almost. Appian Way, Colossus, and Mausoleum, that's a ton of clay. So, I have that on the brain here. Which means, of course, I'm going to take the yellow card for all the cheap clay. Yes, of course I will. And I get very lucky there to flip a bad card for them. So now, what to do? What to do is I think we discard the red card on the left, because that makes them flip something for us. They get the one... That's a decent card. I mean, I can live with that as a flip. The brown card that's the stone that costs 1. Here... I'm going to... Ooh, I actually take the clay. I think to try to create the resource monopoly. Oh no, they take the clay, which I get because I misread who was going when. So Legendario takes the clay, which makes sense. They do need clay. And then that lets me have the yellow card for stone, which is fantastic for me. And I'm also going to get the yellow card for wood. So now this is interesting because now I have all of the yellow cards from Age 1. This means that their Statue of Zeus is close to useless in attacking my resources. The downside is I don't have any of the gray resources, so I'm still not great yet as far as economy goes. I get a lot of money from discards, though. That is one key advantage I have right now. And we're also doing okay on science, 2-1. That's pretty standard for a law token game. So Legendario can either take the clay, let me deny them wood, so they'll have no wood going into Age 2, or another play they could make. What they could do is build Piraeus with the clay card, buy the wood just so they have wood, and then they'll get to start Age 2. The downside to this is they would be using up their only extra turn. And normally that's not a thing you want to do this early in the game. You don't want to use your only extra turn until later, like typically Age 3, you want to save one for Age 3 because that's when some really high leverage situations pop up. But here they are going to go with the Piraeus play, so they really want to go first in Age 2. Legendario will, of course, go first, which I expect. And do they take the... No, they deny the clay. They don't want me to jack up their clay costs, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of odd, though. Anyway, here. So, I think these blue buildings, this one in particular, the temple... This is one of the better blue buildings in Age 2 because it gives you a free connection to a 6-point building in Age 3. The others only give you free chains to... Well, okay, let me go back on this. This gives you a free chain to a more expensive 6-point building, whereas this one gives you a free chain but to a cheaper 6-point building in Age 3. This is the better card, so I think we're just going to... I discard it? I know that my wonders are not cheap right now, but I still wonder if maybe I shouldn't have bought that in retrospect. Maybe I should have bought that blue building since it only costs 2. But Legendario is doing the same thing. We're just discarding the blues. I'm gonna go for military attack because it's cheap. So I'm thinking maybe I could sneak in some military plays here. However, it reveals the bull, which is very bad news for me, because it denies my only matching science symbol so that I can't go for... I can't take a token. The other problem is this. This is the last remaining science symbol that they don't have. So if they were to get all 4, that's typically like... That's almost game over right there. If you let them have all 4 science symbols going into Age 3, if they have all 4 plus the law token, then they only need one more science card of any kind to win the game in Age 3. I do not want that to happen. So here, I now decide to buy a blue building, which this one costs 3 coins, and it was a 5-point building. So I guess from that perspective, it was maybe a better purchase than the 4-point building I could have bought earlier. Anyway, another unfortunate flip for me, because now they get a science card for free that's going to give them a symbol, a token. They get a progress token. They go for law. Now, in their position, I wonder if I maybe would have gone for strategy instead. But I can understand law because of the way the card row is going to go, I get to deny them the wheel symbol. They're not getting this. It's guaranteed to make it impossible for them to get the wheel symbol. So they need to get the law token now to present their biggest possible science threat for Age 3. Anyway, now I am, of course, going to take this the Forum, because the wildcard gray resource is something I badly need, especially with my opponent having Circus Maximus. This yellow card cannot be destroyed, so I keep those gray resources for the rest of the game. Anyway, Legendario, what are they going to do here? They're going to take the yellow card because free money, and they really need money. And this means I am going to discard or build a wonder. Okay, no, I build a wonder instead. I build Colossus, and I understand this because this gets me to the threshold where I take away 2 coins from them. So that's why I opted to build Colossus now, instead of just discarding the wheel symbol. And they take red because, you know, they have to. I'm putting the pressure on them with red. And now I take this red too. So again, I get to keep the pressure on them with military. So I'm in a pretty good position with military here in terms of forcing them to make suboptimal plays for scoring so that I don't win in military. That's what I'm looking to do here. They take the Papyrus because that's something, you know, that would be another gray resource for me to have. Sorry. I think I just discard the Stone because I don't want to flip new cards for them. They don't have any more extra turns, remember? Here. What do I do with this? I take the, I discard the glass. I'm not sure about that. It might have been better to take it. I think buying the glass might have, well, no, wait, never mind. No, I understand why I did it. Because Legendario has Circus Maximus, that's right. Because they have Circus Maximus, that is why I decided to discard the glass instead of buying it. Because they could just destroy it. If I were to buy it, they would just destroy it with the Circus anyway, so it wouldn't really do anything for me. Okay, that makes sense. I think, like, when I was playing this game at the time, I can tell you, I was playing the slowest I've ever played. I'm normally a very fast player, even in board games. It's that fighting game player in me, you know? I'm just too used to the punch kick games, you know? So I'm used to acting fast. But here, because this was the finals, and this was such a strong opponent, I was playing as carefully as possible. So yeah, that's why I was making some more of these kinds of plays that maybe I wouldn't have if I was thinking faster. Anyway, Legendario's move here is to buy the wood, or do something with the wood. Okay, they're going to build a lighthouse with the wood card. That also makes sense. They want to build all their wonders before I can. So that makes sense. And now in this situation, I think I do not... This just isn't important enough of a situation for me to use my only extra turn. I cannot use it here. I have to let them have this progress token. I'm definitely buying the blue card because points. I need points. And they obviously buy the feather symbol for the token, and I assume they're going to get strategy. Yes, they do. Strategy is definitely their best option here because, again, I am getting a bit threatening on military, right? So they need to counter that. Strategy is your best counter you could hope for. And I am going to buy the Customs House because this reduced the cost of gray resources, and again, they can't take this away from me. They can't destroy it. So yeah, easy purchase for me there. Now what to do here? They get really lucky because now they get to go first in age 2, which is normal, okay. But the funny part with that is they get to take science first. So now things are really scary for me because all they need to win is one more of the round symbol. They need to get one of the round symbol to win. Here I think my play is... Because this science card doesn't really do anything for me, I think my best play is actually to use my extra turn now and take the points from the Builders Guild, since that's going to be worth 8 at the end. And that's exactly what I do. I think this is the best move because now I see potential for myself to win on points in this game. They have to take the red, of course, obviously. Strategy token, and also they want to threaten my win. Now here, here's one of those round symbols, so I have a forced move here. I have to do something with this green card, or else Legendario just wins right there on science. So I have a force move. The question is what to do with it. I don't think I'm going to buy this. It's just not worth much in points, and I'm not guaranteed to get the progress token from it. So I either discard this or I build a wonder with it. And I think because of how weak the discard pile looks at the moment, if I were to build a wonder with this, I would build the pyramids. And that's what I might do, actually. Because I see a possibility here where I can build all my wonders before Legendario does. And that would be big for me. So yes, that's what I do. I build the pyramids. Since it's actually better for me than the Mausoleum right now. Since this looks like it could be a game that comes down to points, and that's the one thing the pyramids does, it scores you a lot of points. Okay. So now Legendario, I think, is just going to buy the next red card, which they do because it's going to take 2 coins away from me and present a military attack, because of course. I buy the guild, which is interesting. It's worth only 2 coins for me, but I don't want them to have that source of points at the end. I'm not sure about that play, but I do think part of it is motivated by money. Now here, I have to do something with the red card, and I probably maybe discard it? Yeah, I think I discard this because I need money. Unfortunately, they get the blue building for 7 points and for free. That's massive. I'm going to take this blue building. I have to compete on the blues. They might... So what if I were in their shoes right now? I might... actually, you know what? They'll just buy this. The Chamber of Commerce, because this scores 3 points for every gray resource you have, and they have 2 gray resource cards. I have none. But this is going to give them a lot of money, which they need. No, they don't take the money. They build the wonder. But I see what they're going for. What they're going for here is they're trying to threaten to finish all their wonders before I do. So now, here comes a very important decision in the game right here. This is my turn. So, what I see looking at this is, I clearly have to do something with the Green Guild. Because the Green Guild is worth, at minimum, 6 coins and 6 points. So, it's effectively an 8-point card. So yeah, that's the biggest threat here for sure. The question is this. For me, it comes down to either, do I buy the Green Guild because it's worth so much, or do I build the Mausoleum with it? That is the big question here. I will give you 20 seconds to think of what you would do in here, and then I will reveal my answer. What do I do? Build the wonder is what I do. I took a very long time. This was the turn of the game. I spent over a minute. I spent like almost all of my allotted thinking time limit on Board Game Arena just for this one play here, because I realized this was the key. Now, the other part of this is, since I built the Mausoleum, what do you take with it? There is a red card worth 2 shields that I could take. That would get me up a couple points in the military track. That would effectively score me 3 victory points. Or I could take one of the blue buildings that is worth 4 points. And this one, again, is where I made some decisions here. And I decided that the 4-point blue building was the better play for me. I decided I'm just going to go all in points, and the reason for this is because I also had the blue guild. The guild that gives me 1 point at the end of the game for every blue card in the city with the most blue cards. And I'm positioning myself to have the most blue cards here. So that was my thought. Because I had the guild, that tipped me toward going for the blue building instead of the instead of the military. And also, because I get 2 points from the mausoleum, and this blue building is effectively worth 5 points. So this was 7 points for me, whereas buying the green guild would have been probably worth 8. So it wasn't much of a difference in points, and most importantly, it denied them their ability to build their last wonder, which was a free wonder for them too, mind you. So I decided that this was the better play, and I think I was right in that decision. I had to take the chance to finish my wonders before Legendario did. So now they're going to take, that yellow card because they need some money. I'm going to buy the blue because, of course, I buy the blue. Again, I have blue guild. They take the money. Here, this is unfortunate. I don't quite have enough money to afford the 7-point building. So that's kind of sad. I have to discard it, though, for sure. Yes, I cannot let Legendario have that building because the alternative for them is not that great here. This yellow card is kind of weak, so I'd much rather let them have that. That's a big difference between that versus them getting the 7-point blue. Now here, I have one last decision to make since this game's coming down to points. Do I take the blue, or do I do something with the red card? And with the red card, if I were to do something with it, I would probably discard instead of buying it, since the discard would get me 3 points from the amount of money I gained from the discard. Or would it? No, it wouldn't actually. So it's pretty even. I think it's actually kind of even whether to discard or buy the red here. The alternative is I could just buy the blue and add another point to my blue guild, in addition to just denying them points straight up. I decide to buy the blue. I figured that was more worth it because of the guild. And because I knew they would not be able to end the game with that military. They'd come close, but no cigar. And so I get my 2 guilds that scored me a bunch of points. And even though they have more money and they crushed me on military, guess what? I won the tournament. So yeah, that was it. That was how I won the 2021 Mind Sports Olympiad. How I became the champion in 7 Wonders Duel. So I had a really rough relationship with this game going into this because I had spent about a year on and off grinding to reach the #1 rank on the arena mode in Board Game Arena. And it would send me on tilt when I would have games where I get unlucky with getting bad wonder draws and being second player, and I'd lose to players rated in the 100s, lose a shitload of ELO off of that. And I would just get so pissed at myself, and it was a nightmare. Like, base game 7 Wonders Duel is not a game you want to take that seriously, not on that level. And I learned that the hard way. Now, prior to this tournament, I did manage to eventually reach #1 in Arena, which was my whole goal with this. So it's still one of my proudest achievements in all of my really decades in gaming. And so I'm very happy with that. And this tournament ended up being kind of a nice way to cap off my time with this game, getting one last huge win, and a tournament win at that. A tournament with hundreds of players. To be able to come out on top after all that. To play what I think might have been the best game of 7 Wonders Duel I had ever played, at least to this point, when I needed to play my best game the most. That was the thrill of competition for me. Being pushed to levels I did not know that I could reach, and making it there. In the end, this, I think, made it all worth it. I don't know if it's a path I would recommend anyone else try, but it was worth it for me. And I was so glad to be able to go out on a high note with this game. So yeah, hopefully you learned a lot of lessons from 7 Wonders Duel base game strategy and high level with this. And I might record some more videos of this game in the future, but if I do, it would definitely be with the expansions. I think the expansions for this game breathe a ton of life into it. Especially the Agora expansion, I love it. Like, this has gone from being one of my most hated board games, or maybe love-hate, more accurately, to just one of my favorite board games, period, once I finally learned the expansions, after spending a couple years away from this game completely. So yeah, I might maybe upload some more videos of expansion play for Seven Wonders Duel in the future. But yeah, hopefully this serves you well as a nice resource for learning the base game. And hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day. Peace.